Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались з кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячий хотар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Хто води всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів. Робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить. Хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар? Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ. Тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Street Army sends its regards.
Hello everyone, I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 297 of the news, and it's good to see you all in the chat once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine. But before we get to that tonight, I actually had a special little something to share with you all. We will no longer have beef on the menu. That's right. We have actually quashed the beef. In case y'all didn't know, there was a little bit of a problem that had occurred with another channel a while ago. Still not listing off the name because people will go over there for some reason or another, so we're not going to list it off because we're talking about beef, although we don't have one anymore. And it appears that there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. Reached out to them over email last night, and we got it all cleared up. And so the beef is over, and beef is no longer on the menu. But moving on from that little tidbit of news, which I thought y'all would like to hear, we're now going to be moving on into, and also I see people already trying to list off which channel it is. If you've been around long enough, you'll know. If you don't, you don't. But the beef was quashed. So anyways, with that, we're now going to be moving on into the actual news for tonight, starting off in the Bakhmut area, where we have seen some interesting results over the past 24 hours. And so moving down to the front line, and remember that our stream classifies the Bakhmut front reaching all the way up towards Soledar and all the way down towards Kurdyumivka and the canal that is directly west of it. So far, over the past 24 hours, we have seen that the Russians have gained a modest sum of ground here on the northern end of the chicken tender right below its summit, but at the same time, they've also lost all the 3 blocks that they took in Bakhmut itself, and it appears that they're being pushed back in I guess you could say, the urban fighting, but in the open, they have moved forward a little bit, and it appears that they've taken the small road. And if we take a look at this on Google Earth, which we will, let's zoom in right here. They have now taken this road, so it appears that they may have moved up into the tree line, and they're holding that while Ukrainian forces are somewhere else in the area. Going off of this, we can see that the Russians are still making very small gains in ground, but once again, this right here was actually a little bit concerning, considering that yesterday they actually had a foothold in Bakhmut, and they controlled about 3 blocks worth of houses. You can see the first block, second block, and the third block, and now they've been pushed out of all of them. That is very interesting to see, and it's definitely showing that the Ukrainians have the ability to push the Russians back in a counterattack in urban fighting. And if y'all do not know, urban fighting is the most difficult form of fighting that anyone can ever find themselves in. Ever. In fact, it's even largely advised against in a U.S. strategy to fight in urban battles. If any of y'all remember, the Battle of Fallujah was actually considered pretty controversial in the United States due to the amount of casualties that the U.S. was taking during the battle. But once again, the Ukrainians showed that they are able to take on some of the most difficult tasks on the front line and succeed because they pushed them out of all 3 blocks over just the past day. Not only that, but we have seen that apparently Russian prisoners are starting to be taken at a very high rate in the Bakhmut area in particular. And this is something that we've started to notice over the course of about a week, is that all the videos we're getting now of Russian prisoners being taken are all coming from the Bakhmut front all the way up towards Soledar and all the way down towards Kurdyumivka. And so it's giving us a very good indicator that Russian forces are trying to abandon the line the best they can. Of course, the Russians still have a horde of troops in this area, so while the abandonments seem to be getting quite noticeable, it's probably not going to be affecting their manpower much because they'll just push in new units from the reserve onto the front line to fill in places where there may be gaps. But beyond that, it does seem to be very bizarre, to say the least, and very interesting to see. And so, without going over the frontline analysis too much, considering nothing's really changed here, let's get into the videos and see what we got. And so, first off, I'm going to be showing you all the showdown that's been occurring in between the Ukrainians and the Russians in the area around Soledar. So this is actually pretty wild, and sorry about the graphics here. The graphics aren't that great, but to explain what's about to happen before it actually happens, what you see right here is a very rare at this point, Russian T-80BV, and a Ukrainian soldier right there, right where the mouse cursor is. That's a little Ukrainian soldier in a dugout. And what this guy is doing is probably a David versus Goliath scenario in real life. He is facing down a Russian tank, looking at him from point-blank range with an RPG.
Is this going to end good or bad?
You wouldn't believe... This is insane. Just watch what happens. They both fired at the same time. And guess what? Both of them missed. The shell flew right over him and exploded in the berm in the background, and his RPG apparently wobbled. It must have gotten somewhere very close to the ground, or maybe even grazed it, because apparently the RPG rocket actually wobbled and its flight path veered over the tank, and so neither of them got hit, but both of them, it appears, and you can see the rocket right there spinning out of control, both of them appear to have thought that the other one may have been taken out. The tank thinks that it killed the infantryman. The infantry hasn't had time to get up and see that the tank hasn't been knocked out. And so both of them at the moment think that they've gotten the other one. What insane. I mean, like, this is just insane. Also, you know, once again, you got to give it to the Ukrainians. This guy is facing down a whole main battle tank with just an RPG, and from what we can tell, he's completely alone. It doesn't even look like there's a unit nearby, at least on film. And this guy meant, hell or high water, he was not leaving that front line without taking an entire tank with him. And of course, sadly, he failed. Unluckily, the Russian tank failed at taking him out. But is that insane or what?
What would he be doing out there without a unit?
I don't really know. It may be that he got separated from his unit in a firefight. It may be that the tank is actually splitting the unit in two, and he is the squad's anti-tank, I guess you could say gunner, if you want to call it that. And so he's the guy who pretty much has to take out the tank. The rest of his squad's over there to the left, and he's trying to shoot and blow up the tank, so that way he doesn't continue to wreak havoc on the line in his squad. But man, regardless...
And I also saw Bilbo Jenkins say, isn't the tank shell a bit overkill for one guy? Well, yeah, for sure, but he's got an RPG over there, so it's either shoot him or the tank gets blown up.
But I got to give this guy a load of credit. Watching this again, I will tell y'all this for certain. I would never face down a tank on my own with just an RPG at that kind of range. I would probably be so scared that I would be making sure my pants were well soaked. But this guy right here is such a legend that he literally got up out of this foxhole where he could have just kept his head low and the tank may or may have not known he was there. He stuck his head up and shot it right at the tank. Shot not his head, the RPG right at the tank. But with that, that's the end of the video. And once again, another example of Ukrainian bravery and also some just straight up luck. Moving on into the next bit of news in the Bakhmut area, we saw a Ukrainian soldier 5 days into the Bakhmut area. Here's a Ukrainian soldier arriving in Bakhmut. And here's the Ukrainian soldier 5 days later.
Man.
This man is caked with mud from head to toe. Golly.
Man, you can't even, like, distinguish the type gear he has on anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's bad. And that also shows you how rough it really is in the Bakhmut area, that this guy went from wearing a multicolor camo to now he's got a unicolor camo. He actually had a fashion downgrade here from how bad looking... from how bad Bakhmut really is. It's nothing but mud. A lot of the ground's been churned up by shelling as well, much like it would have been in the First World War, and so there is no grass to absorb the moisture or try and keep it, I guess you could say, largely water. It just mixes with the dirt and creates mud, and this guy has just been practically bathing in it. It also shows you how active he's been on the front lines, considering how dirty he is, for sure, and you just got to give it to him again. Living in these kinds of conditions, you know that having all of that mud and like the dirt and stuff inside of your clothes and itching you and rubbing against you, it's got to be incredibly uncomfortable. It's got to be very unpleasant. And these guys are still out there soldiering on. Who knows if they'll ever take a shower in the next few weeks, because they will probably be on the lines for the next few weeks, and then they'll get rotated out. But until then, they probably will never have a shower. They'll be living, probably getting chapped, getting all kinds of... It's just, in general, just being uncomfortable as hell. But they're still going to brave it out just like this guy has right here. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on into our next bit of news from Bakhmut, where we can see the situation in another area of the front line. This time, we're thinking that it's mostly in the city itself.
Друзі, на календарі 16 грудня, район Бахмутка. Бачите, як виглядає?
We see him showing off the town.
Такі серйозні прильоти, все порозвалювали. Друзі, наразі це окраїна міста Бахмут біля річки Бахмутки. Бахмутка повністю контролюється практично нашими військами, там наші позиції. Орки намагаються продавити нашу оборону, але нічого не виходить. За вчорашню добу було декілька спроб Але наші відбили всі атаки і натомість
And
контратаку.
also, you can see right here, he said they counterattacked several strongholds. You can actually see that on the Frontline update, where they actually pushed the guy out. Well, not just the guy. They pushed all of the Russian forces that were in those 3 city blocks out of the town. And so they actually did a commendable effort, a great job all around, because it's very tough to do things like that with that kind of speed.
Ковали по декількох опорниках. Можна побачити, бачите, місцеві жителі ходять. І, ну, у них своє кіно іде. Тому, друзі,
Wait a minute, what was this translation? Residents walk around, they have their own movies. Like, what does that mean? Like Forrest Gump? Are they watching
really.
Forrest Gump or something? Or are they watching Happy Gilmore or whatever it is?
тому, друзі, Бахмут стоїть. Бахмут – це Україна. Бахмут тримається. Тримаємо стрій. Ні, я не палю. Та
He's going to be
попалили,
sure not to
бачиш?
cause any fires.
Це ж руський мір пройшов, все спалив. Ти його ждеш, хто тебе знає. Ну, таке, ситуація різна. Тому, друзі, не вірте чуткам і пліткам. Бахмут стоїть, Бахмут тримається. Бахмут – це Україна. Вірте Збройним силам.
And there you have it right there, straight out of the mouth of a soldier in the Ukrainian armed forces, an actual grunt in the field fighting the Russians himself, saying that they are holding the line. Bakhmut is Ukraine's, and it will remain Ukraine's until the end of this war. They will never give up that town, and he believes it. And if he's on the front line fighting and he believes that it's possible, then I think anyone can believe it's possible, because this guy actually knows what's going on. And soldiers, you know, soldiers, of course, want to keep public spirits up, but at the same time, they will know when things are going pretty bad. We didn't see any of the Ukrainian soldiers in Lyman when it was being encircled by the Russians way early on in the war, going, oh, we're going to hold it forever and ever. No, they were actually saying, oh, we're getting encircled, we're leaving. So we know that the guy's telling the truth, at least on the situation on the ground, and that things are going incredibly well for the Ukrainians in their defensive of the town, and they are still holding on to it and even pushing the Russians out of the small footholds they've made onto the eastern side. And so with that, we're now moving even further down and towards the southeastern end of Bakhmut, where we can see the defense of Bakhmut occurring there. And quite a lot of guys here. I mean, like, they had loads of them. But let me try and get the graphics up in quality.
Подваливать, корректируй. КамАЗ куда, туда.
Now see the firefights beginning. Dang! This is like a this is like a World War I over the top kind of situation. They're just like, all right, let's get it, and they just start climbing over, firing their rifles as they advance.
That's a nice gun this guy's got.
Yeah, it looks like an M240, I think. If anyone knows specifically what model this is, I'm fairly certain it's an M240, but let us know what specific variant it is if y'all do know. Oh my god, it's literally World War I. They're like, okay, start firing with a machine gun, we're going over. And they just start going over in a wave. Wait a minute, what we're watching right now, I just put this together. We're watching one of the counterattacks that just happened. This is what it looks like on film.
Oh.
Oh my god, that's insane. I didn't actually know that they were just literally just charging. I didn't know they were doing that. I thought it was like artillery with an extended firefight, and then the Russians got pushed back. These guys were literally just moving into the city block, shooting them directly at point blank ranges and forcing them out. That's what they were doing. Holy moly! Now
also the gun's at M240B, by the way.
Oh, thanks. So I was mostly right. It was an M240, and thank you so much, Erwin, for clarifying that. I don't know the specific variants of the M240. I have seen one before, but you know, I wasn't like saying they're like, it's just the B variant. But anyways, we're gonna let the video continue. They're still going over the top.
dang. This guy's like firing right around those people in front of him.
Подержи.
Looks like he's reloading his gun. And you hear some fire coming back their way. The Ukrainians are still laying down fire as the rest of their men advance across the field. Good lord. This is just bat insane. I have never seen in this entire war yet either side just go, okay, y'all ready, fellas? Yeah, okay, let's go. And then just literally just climb over the side of what seems to be like a ditch and just start walking towards the enemy. I have never seen that. You got to give them a lot of credit because this is happening in the Bakhmut area, and we know that these guys actually ended up pushing the Russians back. So their bravery of getting right up onto the Russians and fighting probably face to face with them has pushed the Russians out of the town. We now see the footage just cut. When you hear a firefight going on in the distance, that must be the vanguard of the forces that went over the top and now engaging the enemy. But you now see that, I guess you could say, the reserve force is firing into the distance. The machine gunner is taking a break for a second. And with that, that's the end of the video.
That was intense.
But that was insane. I just can't believe, like, going back to this real quick, this is the most bizarre thing to see ever. Like, it worked. That's the craziest part. It worked. Like, it wasn't just like a kind of like a half, I'm sorry for the language, but it wasn't really half-assed or anything like you would see the Russians pull off. This was entirely with the intent of taking ground, and they did it. That's the craziest part. I can't even fathom it, because in modern warfare, the idea of advancing over open ground towards a fortified position, and I'm assuming that the Russians were in some kind of a tree line or behind some kind of cover, and advancing forces through the open like this should not work. Yet it did. I don't even understand how it did, but they somehow pulled it off. Golly, now on this level right here, I can't even tell y'all in words how blown away I am by the fact that they pulled this off and it was successful. This is by far got to be the only thing that could have pulled them through and made them survive this is the level of training that they have alone. There's nothing else. They shouldn't have really succeeded doing something like this, at least from how all modern wars have turned out in these kinds of strategies and tactics. If a squad lead had tried to do this in Vietnam, he probably would have gotten his entire squad wounded and killed, but somehow these guys actually pushed a counterattack and succeeded, not in the thick brush of a jungle like Vietnam, but in a wide open field in the middle of Ukraine. I just gotta say, I'm blown away. But with that, we're now going to be moving on from this insane video. Huge credit to the Ukrainian defenders who are fighting at Bakhmut right now. And on towards the area of Kurdyumivka, where we saw Ukrainian forces pushing forward behind a BTR. Actually, two of them. Now I've got to mute this one. But when you see him patting the rump of the BTR like some kind of a dog. Did you see that? He like some kind of a horse.
Let's see it again.
He's like, yeah!
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And when you now see them moving forward with the infantry behind them, when you see him trying to shoulder the machine gun or mount the machine gun onto the back of the BTR for a second. You now see the other BTR also bringing up behind them. See the Ukrainians firing at the tree lines. They continue to advance. And once again, the absolute bravery here is unbelievable. They advance behind APCs, which are weakly armored, in broad daylight, once again, against a fortified Russian position, is something that requires extreme bravery and extreme levels of training and ability to pull off successfully. And once again, they're doing it. And it's I can't even say it enough, and I'm not going to say it again because I almost stutter it out the entire time I'm trying to say it. Unbelievable. With that, we're now going to be moving on into the next bit of news from the Bakhmut front, which I guess we'll call this the Bakhmut front in Kupyansk for today, so that way we can include it. But up here, we actually saw the Ukrainians once again conducting their normal type of drone warfare and dropping some grenades on Russians that were somewhere in the general area. We can see the bomblet on its way. We can see the Russian position right down there. And it looks like it was almost a bullseye. Actually, it was a bullseye. We can now see Russians crawling around and running away. It's very hard to see them. The air is not quite clear at this moment. You see that they hit another Russian position.
Have we ever figured out what the different like color codes mean on these grenades?
I don't think there's a specific color code. I think it's more so whatever filler the 3D printer has, they just kind of go with it. So it's,
Oh wow!
yeah, it really comes in any color.
Real scientific.
Yeah, so with that, still impressive to see, and they were definitely giving a walloping to the Russians with these small bomblets in the area. And with that, that's the end of the video. But once again, you can see that the Ukrainians are fighting tooth and nail and even responding with Russian attacks with counterattacks of their own and keeping Bakhmut Ukrainian. It's honestly unbelievable. And once again, to reiterate this, I would like to show you this. Let me go all the way back to December 1st. So December 16th, or 15th, 14th, 13th, 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5. Well, actually, not 5. They didn't even include 5. It just goes to the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd. Well, actually, the 3rd got 2 updates, the 2nd, and then the 1st. And so now we're on the 30th. So this is what the front line looks like at the beginning of this month. And 2 weeks later, the front line has changed to look like that. Not a lot of change, honestly. And also, the only amount of ground that they've covered in the Bakhmut area, it appears to be a couple of fields. So not big at all. And once again, the Ukrainians are conducting an incredible defensive. It's unbelievable. And they're even starting to include offensive operations in small degrees inside of the offensive, well, the defensive itself. They're doing incredible. I can't even state that enough. The fact that this is a Russian offensive and we haven't seen them gain hardly any ground of note shows that the Ukrainians are doing an exemplary job. And once again, a lot of people get this wrong kind of concept that if the Russians engage in an offensive battle, the Ukrainians also have to be engaging in an offensive battle of their own. And at the end of it, the Ukrainians better be making up some ground or else they're really losing. But that's not how real battles and real war works. If a side is engaged in an offensive like we're seeing the Russians right now, all Ukraine has to do to win that battle is to hold on to the ground, the strategic parts of the ground that they held initially, and that is considered winning. And right now, almost a month into the second battle of Bakhmut, the Ukrainians are still winning. And it looks like they'll keep on winning as well. In fact, I think, Matthew, they're going to win so much, they're going to get tired of winning. But with that...
Oh, wow.
we're now
Really?
we're now going to be moving on from the Bakhmut area and from those incredible heroes that are fighting for that town. I've got to say, they're really setting a new standard for the Ukrainians. And we're now going to be moving on into Russia. Oh, beautiful Russia. What could have gone wrong with Russia today? Someone asks as I move very far east into Russia, pretty much onto the border of Mongolia. Well, in the town of Ulan-Ude, and some of y'all may actually remember that because a guy called Bald Bankrupt, who kind of now seems to me to be kind of a shill for whatever country he's in, he actually went to Ulan-Ude at a point. Did you know that, Matthew?
Yeah, that video he put out recently.
No. Remember, he was expelled from Russia. He can't go back. I think he's in Vietnam and Laos.
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
I got you.
But way back in the day, he actually went to the town of Ulan-Ude, and he went there and he took a look around it. And what's interesting about Ulan-Ude, if I go all the way out here, in the middle of nowhere, pretty much, is that there are actually, I believe, nope, wait a minute, hang on. That's the Baikal International Airport. Sorry, that's a civil airport. I believe this is the military air base over here, if I'm correct. Well, let me make sure. I am right. You can see right here what appears to be... Let me think. I'm trying to... I can't even tell y'all what kind. I'm assuming they're MI8s and MI17s. I may be wrong, though, because for some reason these kind of remind me of the nose, at least. Nope. They're all MI8s and MI17s. And you can see here the training base, or the base in general, that they operate from. Now, what's very interesting today is that in Ulan-Uday, the beautiful town of Ulan-Uday, the Russians had a training accident. One of these MI8s flying into this base actually ended up crashing and killing all 3 crew members on board. And we can see right here the aftermath with the Russian fire crews on the airstrip trying to put out the fire of the burning helicopter, the crew still inside. Now, of course, I would be amiss to say that this is anything exceptional. In case if y'all if y'all follow U.S. military news, occasionally there is always a training accident that occurs. It's just, I guess you could say, it comes with the ground of training. I believe recently, the most recent training incident actually occurred with some Marines in Norway, and I believe their Osprey killed, their Osprey crashed and ended up, I think, killing 3 or 5 Marines. And so training incidents usually just come with the territory of the military. It is somewhat of a dangerous task, sometimes just to train, especially when dealing with aircraft and helicopters. And it appears that the Russians ran into one of those unfortunate incidents today. But probably the worst part of this incident wasn't really the loss of Russian life, but more so the loss of the helicopter. Considering that the Russians cannot make any more helicopters, at least from what we know, the loss of even an Mi-8 can be costly for the Russians, and the fact that they lost one in trading is probably making Putin weep. He's probably sitting around in the Kremlin drinking champagne and telling people, you know, it's literally the Ukrainians' fault. If they weren't in this war, those boys wouldn't have crashed the helicopter because they would have great army benefits. He would be like Sasha. But anyways, with that, that's the end of that little video. And then look into what's going on in the far east of Russia. Or I can't even do a bald and bankrupt voice. I don't really know if I want to. But with that, we're now moving on into Moscow because we have some news to show from here as well. It's really interesting news. I think y'all would like it. The on to Washington people. You remember, Matthew, the people who had the giant Sarmat cardboard missile, you know, in Moscow?
Yes, I do.
Well, it appears that they're back. But this time, they've actually found the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. And we're going to pull that up real quick. Embassy, Moscow. So, here is the U.S. Embassy, right here. This is it. Let's take a look at the pictures of it.
That's not a bad-looking building.
No, it's not bad. It just looks like a giant cinder block in a way. Let's see. Let me try and... Like, there's a million pictures. It looks like there's actually different buildings that are a part of this compound, I guess you could say. But it's a huge embassy. That's one thing that's for certain. I don't know if that building is attached to it. It keeps on showing up in pictures. I have a feeling it's not. And apparently that's what it looks like way back in the day, so it looked a lot worse. That honestly looks like something out of a horror movie. But let's drop down on Street View and look at the Bolshoi-Devnisky line. Hopefully that one's better. And here's the embassy today. That's what it looks like. Honestly, not that bad of an embassy. I would say right now, it's looking pretty nice. Also, is this a security guard? It is.
He looks like he's about to square up. Look at it. Look at his fist.
He's like, I wouldn't want to fight me neither. But anyways, we saw that they showed up at the embassy today, and they were going, on to Washington, na Moskva, or whatever they say. So let me show you all these people, because I always get a laugh out of the fact they think they can take on America. So here we go. It's the same guy on the microphone and everything. And there's the embassy. And there's that stupid Sarmat thing that they made out of cardboard back there. You know, this is the kind of Russian chant I think there would be. It's such a simple one. Like, it's so simple that you could be on the short bus and you could be saying this chant easily. It's literally just on to Washington over and over and over. Nothing in between. It's just on to Washington, on to Washington, on to Washington. You just say it for hours.
you know the people inside the embassy are like, they don't give two damns about what's going on outside right now.
Oh man, the people in the embassy are sitting there saying, "Oh, great, the protesters are here. I wonder what they're doing this time of day. Oh, great, great." Like, they don't even care. You know, it's like, these people mean nothing to the embassy. And on top of that, it's like, don't you think the detachment of Marines that are inside of that embassy are probably having a really fun time thinking, "Oh boy, maybe I could shoot some beanbags into these people if they run over the gate." You know, it's like no one's really caring in the embassy, but I still get a good laugh out of the delusional idea that these people have that Russia could take on the United States in some kind of conventional war, or they could just take over the United States so easily. Oh, wait a minute. They did some big, Matthew, revolutionary. They changed it from on to Washington to they went, "Oorah." Oh my God. That's mental gymnastics right there. I don't think the average supporter of this group could do that. And it sounded a little bit weaker than the normal chant, too. And with that, that's the end of the video. And also, look at that. I think that's crazy, Matthew. Look down there. You see that building right there?
Yeah.
You know, that's the one that Boris Yeltsin had tanks shooting into when the Russian parliament, like, almost went into revolt.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. You know, that's pretty much a symbol of Russian tyranny at this point. It's just right down the street. Man.
I see a bunch of folks saying that nobody is in the embassy. Is that true?
Well, I don't know.
I thought there were people in the embassy.
I thought there were. Let's see. U.S. Embassy, Moscow. Moskva. And they are closed, but they will open again at 9 a.m. on Monday. Remember, everyone,
So they're out there like protesting. Nobody's even in it.
well, I mean, I guess they would be, because I don't think they're going to allow American embassy staff to like get a hotel room or something outside of it. You know, I think they are living in there. I'm not really sure on that. I feel like it would be a security issue if they weren't living in there.
I think diplomats can live off the site, because I've heard of them doing that, but I don't know if that's common.
I don't think it would be common in Russia, especially with the current given situation. But maybe they do. I don't really know a lot in particular about this embassy staff, or if they're there or not. But it appears that according to Doodle, they are still having operating hours. Also, I just noticed, you know, I mean, this is very enticing, Matthew. There's reviews. Oh,
I don't know why they put a review option on like places like the U.S. Embassy.
Gabriel M. said, "I have used this embassy ever since I moved here, and the quality of service has nosedived in recent years. I have called asking them very pointed, clear questions that they should have known the answer to, and gotten a range I have no idea responses to downright hostility. Embarrassed that this is my country's embassy." Well, maybe you shouldn't be in Russia. Let's see, canceled our passport appointment with no notice. At least half a dozen families were turned away by 9:30 Tuesday morning, and now it's closed permanently. Completely useless.
Now, I can kind of believe that, to be honest.
I can kind of believe that. Let's see. My father lost his green card to catch our flight back to the United States. Except for some nice squats, there's no one available to see you. My guard handed me a card with a number, which I called. They in turn gave me an email for the State Department and told me to write an email that they would get back in touch with me more quickly if they thought it was important. Very bureaucratic, very unhelpful. Maybe
Wait a minute, a green card?
I don't understand.
I thought a green. I'm not exactly. Before I say something ignorant, what is a green card? Let's see, permanent resident. Okay, I just misunderstood what a green card is, but it's a permanent resident card.
Huh. Let's see. Horrible. For any question, the answer is, we are sorry that we are unable to answer or help in any ways. We are short-staffed. Useless and frustrating. That honestly is just an embassy problem. Recently, that's been like a nationwide problem. Anywhere you call and anywhere you go. Sorry, we are short-staffed due to, you know, the whole thing that happened for 2 years. We won't be able to get around to helping you. Like, that's going on everywhere. But anyways, we're not gonna stay on the reviews for too long. Just in business to get your money. Oh yeah, the embassy is a money-making venture. It's a
Yeah,
tourist.
for-profit venture.
Yes, it's a tourist trap, guys. Don't go to the local embassy. They're going to rob you for some kind of expensive bus tour. But anyways, we're going to be moving on from that insanity, and we're now going to be moving away from the embassy. So let me click out. Let me zoom out. Once again, let's see where this is. So actually, it's just right outside at the ring road that goes around central Moscow, just a little ways away from the Kremlin. So that's also very interesting to see as well. But we're now moving on out of Russia and away from the insanity. We can only have that in moderation, as I always say, and we've already had our maximum dose today. And so we're now going to be moving on into Moldova, because I saw something crazy in Moldova today. As many of y'all probably knew, there were missile attacks that were going on in the area around Ukraine last night, of course launched by Russian strategic bombers, among many other launch platforms, that ended up hitting a lot of targets in Ukraine, and the Ukrainians, of course, shot down a decent amount of them. But what was very interesting is that a passenger on a plane flying over Moldova actually saw the plumes of smoke rising from the cities from over 100 miles away out their window. And we got to see that today. And so here's the video. You can see them zooming in and out of the cloud cover. You can see the clouds right there. And way out there in the distance, you can see these 3 plumes of smoke. And all 3 of those plumes are caused by cruise missiles hitting their targets inside of these cities and exploding and, of course, creating a massive cloud of debris. And that's what you're seeing. Actually, it looks like 4 of them. Those 2 may be completely separate from each other. But pretty wild.
The passenger at this point's like, hey pilot, turn on the afterburners, Terry.
Then get out of there, Terry. But it's actually crazy to think. If you're up that high in a commercial airline, it's probably at 33,000, 36,000 feet, you can actually see Ukraine and what's going on in there sometimes if there's ever a missile attack or something similar. And that's just so wild to think about, actually, just from any kind of mindset. It's like, this guy is just flying past a country in the middle of war, and you can see it from there, you know, from all the way in the passenger plane. But with that, that's the end of the video, and I know someone's about to say, look, the Earth is flat, you know, no, it's
Somebody
not.
said it. They already said it.
Oh, dang it. But anyways, with that, we're going to be moving on from this little clip, and of course, pretty sobering to think that you can see the war going on from a plane just right outside of the borders of the country. And with that, we're now moving on into our location unknowns, and starting off with our first little clip of some new technology that has been brought about by the Ukrainians, which is insane. So make sure to stick around to check this one out, because it's wild. But I saw that Matthew put up a really interesting poll, and I would like to see what people are saying and thinking about it, Matthew. And so what do we got?
All right, so we only have one poll for right now, but I was thinking about putting up a second one, but I'm trying to finalize it. But the first one said, CIA doesn't believe Russia is serious about negotiations, the agency director says today. What are your thoughts? The first option is, wow, thank you, experts. 84% said that. 10% said not sure, and 6% said, I'm genuinely surprised. Now, I've got to say, I think the CIA might be a little bit late. I would say that was a given, kind of already understood. But I guess it's good that they officially said it. But Enforcer, what say you?
Read the poll again real quick.
The CIA doesn't believe that Russia is serious about negotiations, the agency director says today.
Aren't they just into the career of just saying stupid stuff when it's pointless? Like, I feel like they just do that nowadays as a job. You know,
I had to double check it to make sure it was a real statement, but it was actually real.
This is in, y'all. The Enforcer says that the sky is actually blue. In case you didn't know it yet, the sky is really blue. So get that right, y'all. What? I don't even know, man. I don't know what the CIA is really anymore. What are they? Because that is the stupidest thing to confirm at this point. Everyone's already known that for months on end. And now they're just finally coming to the conclusion of it. What is the point of an investigative organization if that's all they can do? Is just tell everyone what we already know. Shouldn't we be calling it like the COA, the Captain Obvious administration or something like that? or the Captain
That would be
Obvious agency.
COA.
Yeah, the COA or whatever, since I'm all screwed up on still talking. Honestly, Matthew, I feel like someone's hit me in the head with a brick over the past 2 or 3 days, and I'm like trying to figure out how to speak again, because I'm really...
It happens. It happens.
It happens, man. Honestly, Matthew and me actually got in an argument. He got a large frying pan and whopped me over the head. I'm just kidding. But anyways, with that is still incredibly hilarious to me. Also, and some people are actually saying, and I see a lot of conspiracy theorists here in the live chat, they're saying that the sky isn't actually blue, it's black right now. And I have to say, the sky is blue, and if you say it's black, you're crazy. And so with that, we're on to the next poll.
All right, so that was our only poll for now. So let's go ahead and address 3 super chat questions. And up first, we have a $20 donation from Chaotic, who does not leave a comment, sadly. But Chaotic, thank you very much for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta thank you so much for the support, Chaotic, because while you didn't throw in a comment, we appreciate it massively, and it helps this channel to keep on running. And so, with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope we addressed it fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Tony Fleming, who puts in a $20 donation, and he makes it real simple. He says, this is for coffee.
Very simple, very direct, coffee. And thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. There's not a lot to address, but it is for the coffee. And I got to thank you so much for that, because thanks to your support to the Coffee Fund, we are able to keep the stream running, able to keep on drinking the delicious juice of life, the elixir, which is known as coffee, and we're able to keep on running the stream. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, Tony, I'll place another Keurig order, and Enforcer will go and buy another bottle of that stuff that they call Busy, which is extremely strong, almost deathly cold brew.
Matthew almost went Mike Tyson. It's almost deadly.
Yes. Yes, I did. I almost did Mike Tyson there. But anyways, thank you so much for that, Tony. And up next, we have a $20 super chat from Santiago Flores, who says, good evening. I'm donating a live chat question, and thank you.
And I gotta thank you so much for the support, Santiago Flores. You've helped out this channel massively to help us keep this thing running. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. And we are going to be getting to that live chat right now. Also, just in case we had anyone new support tonight, just to let y'all know, we will get to every super chat before the end of the night. Just please be patient. I believe we actually had someone last night who went irate that we didn't get to their super chat quick enough. But I promise you that we do get to all of them before the end of the night. So just be patient. And I got to thank you so much once again. If you have put one in for y'all support, and just be patient. We will get to it in a bit. So with that, let's get to the live chat.
All right. And the live chat, sponsored by Santiago Flores, goes to Karen Vaughn, who says, Enforcer, what does the embassy do for American prisoners, if anything?
That's really tough, because that really has to do with what the U.S. government, well, the executive branch is really wanting to do, and not so much the embassy. The embassy can always lodge a request that the prisoner be released or something similar, but there's not a lot in terms of real action that they can take. The only thing they can do is really with words and try and persuade or ask or something similar, but they never really have any kind of I guess you could say enforcement levels of action that they can take where they can get a prisoner or release them or something similar to that. And so
I think pretty much they act like intermediaries between the prisoner and the United States, and they just basically go and meet with them and convey messages.
Pretty much. That's pretty much their only job in terms of the prisoners. Also, usually embassies are kind of like, if you have an embassy, they're kind of like, hey, we're friends for now. And then when you go to war, the embassy staff is over there going, hello, monsieur. We're in the middle of your country, and we just bombed your capital. It looks like we're leaving. We'll see you around in about a week. Bye. And then they leave. So with that, I hope that does address the question fairly well, with a little bit of a joke mixed in there a little bit. And with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you so much once again, Santiago, for sponsoring that live chat.
And that was our third one, so that is the last one of the first segment. And also, I see some folks saying about the embassy comment that the embassy finds lawyers for the person that's overseas to get representation. I wonder how it goes for paying for the lawyer, though. Surely the embassy won't pay for that.
I wonder if they do.
I've never been like caught overseas, you know, locked up abroad style, so I don't know.
That would be interesting to find out one day. Now,
Yeah, we should go and do a video on that, commit a crime, and then see what happens.
turn into Loaf. Have you watched Loaf, Matthew?
Oh yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna do a steroid test here, and then you get arrested in Russia for doing steroids. He's like, hey, just calm down. It's a prank. I can film here. You know, it's like, dude, honestly, man, Loaf is a whole channel, a hilarious channel. If y'all are into prank channels and just seeing something funny, he's a very funny one. And of course, his jokes are actually real. They're not like the overdone fake ones that a lot of channels do. But anyways, with that, you know, that's interesting, man. I wonder if we'll get a shout out on the Loaf channel for giving him a shout out. He'll be like, hey, shout out to the enforcer for like shouting me out. But anyways, with that, it's now time for us to get on into the location unknown. Starting off with our first bit, which is a wild piece of brand new technology, something we've never seen before, and I don't think it's going to be replicated, and I say this sarcastically, anytime soon.
Демонстрація режиму роботи доповненої
What you're
реальності.
looking at, to mute this because we don't have any translation, what you're looking at right here is a software that identifies friendly and enemy targets in real time.
What?
Yeah. Is that crazy or what? The enemy targets are highlighted in red, and the friendly targets are highlighted in blue, and it even gives you like identifying symbols to show you what kind of friendly like identity marker it is, like if it's a vehicle, a person.
So it looks for like insignia and it can detect it?
Apparently so, and it can even detect a enemy vehicle right over that berm.
I would really be interested to know how that works.
Yeah, you can see like they marked the Scooby-Doo van, they marked the guys. There's a red object in the distance right behind them.
Verdam said orc detector.
Gee, guys, my my orc detector is off the charts. We better give that little bush over there and then you give it a and you hear they're just getting blown away. Anyways.
Call in Sacha Baron Cohen with his orc detector.
I don't even know
if
what
you know,
that,
you know.
I don't even know what context that really is, but
remember he trolled what's his face? The guy who was on the Supreme Court in Alabama over being a pedophile.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Man, he did way too much, honestly. That was, oh Lord. Well, we're gonna leave that alone, but that was still hilarious. And apparently it's even showing a marker. It's like it's down below the bush. And apparently that marker is what it's showing. But with that, that's the end of the video, and this technology is incredibly interesting and really cool. I don't know if they're going to try and create augmented reality headsets, where this is shows up to a soldier like a heads-up display showing him who's friendly and who's enemy. But if it did, that is just the next level. That is unbelievable. And imagine the amount of friendly fire that would be completely cut out because of that. The friendly fire would practically not even exist at that point. It would be like playing a literal video game because everyone would be marked as either friendly or enemy, and you would know who to shoot and who not to shoot.
That'd be something else.
That would be something else. I would have to say, Matthew, that would be something else. And so we're now going to be moving on to something else where we can see that another Russian prisoner has been taken. They got this man wearing the salad helmet from the 15th century. Let me pull it up. Yeah, he got a beanie and put some duct tape around it. This man looks like he's wearing a whole on salad. Oh, Lord. Yes, my liege. But anyways. And we can even hear that they got a little Slava Ukrainian on the guy. And what better way to end the video than on that note with Mr. Salad Head. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from the Salad Head and this Ukrainian who's giddily taking back this prisoner of war, and on into the next video where we can see that a small kitten was able to find solace in the arms of this Ukrainian soldier. I got it muted because it's got copyrighted music, but look at that thing. I was trying to get comfy. And with that, that's the end of the video. And I gotta say, It's really nice to see, once again, that the Ukrainians are taking care of these animals. It's just such a cute video to see. And also breaks up the monotony of the doom and gloom of the war. And so with that, we're now moving on to the next bit of Location Unknown news. And this time, it's not really that upbeat. It's the casualty report. And it's going up again. 680 in a day.
Ooh, they got 4 MLRSs today.
They did, and they also got 5 tanks, 6 armed personnel carriers, but today, oddly enough, no supply vehicles whatsoever, and they also got, like Matthew said, 4 MLRSs, also 4 drones, and 3 artillery pieces. And once again, those infantry casualties, the infantry fatalities more like it, are just soaring. They're going up again. And it's just unbelievable to think that that many soldiers are being killed a day. We don't even know how many are being wounded. I'm sorry, everyone. To explain that real quick, because I'm sure that many of y'all heard that, I yawned a little bit because I'm starting to run into a little bit of a problem. And to explain that real quick, I'm drinking busy to try and keep up to run these streams, but now I'm drinking so much busy that I end up staying awake until about 4 o'clock and 4:30 in the morning. And so I'm having to cut it back so that way I can actually sleep after these streams, and I'm starting to have a really tough time, because I hardly drank any coffee tonight, see if I can make sure to get to sleep, and so I'm having a really hard time stopping myself from yawning. But anyways, the infantry fatalities are incredibly high, and I think we're going to be seeing that they will continue to climb, probably back up to the 700s and 800s as a comfortable number, because right now we can see that the Russians got counterattacked heavily in the Bakhmut area, and not only were they already taking heavier casualties during the initial offensive, now they're taking even heavier ones during the counterattack and the face-to-face fighting that they're having with the Ukrainian soldiers. That, of course, could probably indicate that the Ukrainians are also taking somewhat higher fatalities and casualties as well, considering that their forces are getting right on top of the Russians and fighting them face to face. But at the same time, it's probably less than the Russians, and it's good to know that the Ukrainians are really blowing the Russian forces away. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from that little bit of news and into our last bit of Location Unknown news, where we saw that a Stugna got a dead-on hit today. And I can't believe no one's made a song on the Stugna yet. When you see it on its way towards the armored car that's slowly moving through the field, and they got it. And these guys sound like they just pulled off a task on Dude Perfect. Oh yeah, baby! Like, listen to it. Like, these guys were hyped. And I'm hyped too.
They are.
It's nice to see that they took that thing out. They're a lot more hyped than the T90M crew that took out the T90M with the Stugna. They were like, oh, we got it. Yay. They're like, yeah, baby. Like, they're popping champagne and stuff back there. But once again.
Now, serious question before you get off of this. I've noticed for several nights that the screen instructions are in Arabic. I've seen other people mention it too. Is it because these are coming from the Middle East, or is it because that's the default?
These Stugnas were actually made to be exported to the Middle East, and so they made them with Arabic interfaces. But instead of exporting them to the Middle East, the war in Ukraine began in full, and so they stopped the exports, canceled the sales, and started to implement them in the Ukrainian military instead. And so that's why you'll see that a lot of them have Arabic interfaces, because these were supposed to be exported.
Interesting.
Yes, pretty cool. And so with that, we're now moving on from the Location Unknowns, and we're now moving into Kharkiv, where we saw today an interesting sight that a dog, one of the sweet dogs that we've seen a lot in this war, was reunited with his owner. We can see it right there, and right there at the end of the picture, we can see the owner holding the dog, and the dog bundled up like some kind of baby, and it looks like it's really tired, and it's had a whole day. But it's good to know that it was gotten out of the rebel, and it was okay from what we know. And hopefully, it will continue to be okay and get to someplace safe, so that way he doesn't have to live in some rubble for a couple of hours or a day, for all we know. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from the Kharkiv area, and we're going to be moving over to the northeast, and most particularly back in time as well. And so, if y'all will allow me to take a couple of months off of y'all's lives, we're going to go we're actually going to be going back in time to Kupyansk, where we saw that the Wagner group was fighting the Ukrainians in the town, and this was before they got pushed out. And you see them moving through. This is probably Kupyansk Veslovy. I mean, I see them here fighting on the side of this fence line, getting up in a nice big group, which is always the Russians' move. You see them continuing to fire. You can see this guy has got a head that's literally on a swivel. They're now firing into the distance again, closer to nighttime. Something's exploding in front of them. We don't really know what that is or where it's coming from. There's also no audio in this video, weirdly enough, at all.
That was a hell of a blast.
You can see that one of them almost got by that back blast. I was actually going to get back and watch that again. Ooh. That guy right back there, he was in the back blast, just a little bit.
Wait a minute. Did somebody hit the Kerch Bridge again? I'm seeing a couple of people saying that.
Let me check real quick, everyone.
Is that really happening? Is it the second time we're going to get to see it live?
Let's see here. Let me check this real quick, everyone, because I'm seeing something interesting. We may have to relabel this stream.
Let's see if I can find something.
Hang on, let me go to the. One second, everyone. Stand by. Y'all are about to be here. If this is true,
Oh, there's definitely something going on right now. Definitely something.
Hang on, everyone. I'm trying to look. Let me check some other subreddits. And let me see if we can find anything there. Let me look, everyone. Allow me to. I'm sorry. I'm saying that over and over because I'm distracted trying to find out what's going on. What have you found, Matthew?
So thus far, I've been looking on Twitter. It looks like about an hour ago is the earliest thing, the earliest thing I can find. It looks like the traffic is backed up going to the Kerch Bridge. There was an explosion, but nobody's sure exactly what's happened. But nobody can cross the bridge right now.
Interesting. Traffic jams have been pretty common there before, but we're not getting any video from the bridge. Also, it appears that someone said there is no train that has crossed the Kerch Bridge either.
Nothing's crossing, apparently, from what I'm reading. I'm trying to look on Reddit, too, while we're sitting here kind of like going silent.
Something has happened. I'm sorry, everyone, for the pause here in this combat footage, but something has happened to the Kerch Bridge again. Apparently, no railroad traffic and road traffic is currently crossing it. They've also reported that there was some kind of explosions in the area, so we're not really sure if the bridge has been double tapped at this point. We will be looking into that a little bit more as the stream continues, but in the meantime, we're going to let this video play out. It has got about another 3 minutes on it, and while it plays out, I'm not going to be providing any commentary because I'm going to be pulling up some stuff in the background and seeing if we can find any more information on the bridge. We can also see that the silly little goose get hit, just in case, you know, I checked over there for a second. It looks like they're having some real fun. But in the meantime, let me furiously type away. Let me see if I can find some more information on this.
It looks like it's unclear if the bridge has actually been hit at this point.
It appears so, and we'll have to wait a little bit more for more news to come out on that. But for the moment, it appears that the Kerch Bridge has not been hit. It has not, well, we can't really say that for sure. Something is going on with the bridge, considering that no traffic is crossing it whatsoever, but we can't really say anything for sure at this point. Right now, you can see that the Wagner is still fighting for their lives in the Kupyansk area. You see bullets bouncing off the roof right in front of them. Once again, no audio, oddly enough. And also, Mr. Attitude, we are watching the Russian side on cam. This is a Wagner unit in Kupyansk before they were pushed out about 2.5 months ago. We now see that guy using a small grenade launcher. Well, you see that it seems largely that they're in a state of chaos, I guess you could say. Also, this is quite an old video. This would have happened about several months ago when they were being pushed out of Kupyansk then, because I haven't been near Kupyansk since. We now see them all huddling up for warmth or something similar. We now see them all firing at the same spot again. We also see rounds bouncing right off the ground near the guy. And wait a minute, hang on. I don't know if I saw that correctly or not, but we're not going to go back on that one. And so that's the end of the video. But once again, that was a look at the Wagner group before they got pushed out of the area about 2 months ago at this point. I think it was even closer to 2.5. But still, nice to see that the Wagner group appeared to be in complete chaos. And with that, we're now going to be moving on into the northeastern area, where we saw a very nice video of some Ukrainian soldiers taking the time to rescue a starving dog. This poor thing is almost on the verge of death from starvation, and the Ukrainian soldiers managed to find it and hopefully get it some medical care before it dies of starvation. We see right here they're trying to take it off, trying to make it walk with its leash, but we can see that it's in such malnourished state that it can hardly walk at all.
It's so sad to see animals suffering in a war like that.
It is. It's really honestly the worst. And it's terrible to think that these animals trust almost really any person that comes by if they're in a desperate situation, and that the Russians probably they do take advantage of a lot of these dogs' pretty much misguided trust and end up doing terrible things to them. And of course, really sad to see that this poor dog was almost about to die from starvation. But hopefully they were able to save it. Hopefully they were able to give it some kind of treatment that would, save its life, or just some food. I honestly think it would just need some good food. But with that, we're now going to be moving on down towards the area of Svatove, where we saw that a Ukrainian Panzerhaubitze 2000 fired off a star shell into the sky, which was really cool to see. We see the Panzerhaubitze right there, preparing to fire. Still preparing to fire. Now you see it fire. The round is on its way. And here in a second you'll see it light up and illuminate the sky, kind of like a small star. Right out there. Now it's floating slowly, very slowly down towards the ground, and it's lit up. And this is what's called an illumination shell or a star shell. These things literally just get their names because they light up like a star, and they light up all of the ground around it, which helps the infantry to kind of fight like it's daylight, at least where the star shell is. Honestly, Matthew, was it just me, or did that Panzerhaubitze sound like some kind of a freight train?
Yeah, it did. It sounded like an old CSX train.
Yeah, it did. I was like, dang, that thing's got an engine. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from that little bit of news near the Svatove area, and we're now going to be moving inside the Panzerhaubitze to show y'all what it looks like in there, because while it looks like on the outside, they're in a really manly, beefy looking SPG firing off rounds into the distance. Here's what it really looks like on the inside. It looks like a guy working like a 9-to-5 job at an office. It's actually really cushy in there. You see he's got like a whole keypad and everything. He fires the Panzerhaubitze. You now see him firing again. There's an autoloader that actually loads the shell. All that has to be done is that they load the charge.
I want that guy's job.
Yeah, he's just over there. Dude, he's literally like, you know, after this, I've got to just file a little report on my computer here, just type one up, you know, for the office. Maybe get some spreadsheets on Excel. Like, this guy's got a great job, honestly. And with that, that's the end of the video, but that is a look right there at the inside of a Panzerhaubitze 2000 in operation. Not the same one as we saw on film, but it gives you a really good idea of what it did look like, and also how easy of a job it is to operate the Panzerhaubitze. And these guys are really lucky. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from that little bit of news near Svatove, and further on down towards the area of Zhitlivka and Kreminna, where we saw some Ukrainian APCs on the move. Also, I'm going to have to mute this.
What is that flag? Pirate flag?
Let me go back real quick. Let's take a look at that one again.
They've got that thing loaded down too.
Man, I mean, like, that thing is loaded down. It's literally tilting backwards a little bit. I can't tell what kind of flag that is, but once again, the LSA flag could look like it. Also, these are units of the Azov. We can actually see the symbol of the Azov right there. And so with that, that's the end of the video. But once again, pretty cool to see that the units in the Azov are still moving around somewhere in the northeast, and really just making sure that the Russians don't try anything until the Ukrainians are ready to in the future. And so with that, we're going to be moving a little bit further down the front lines and into the southern front, which, I mean, is it really the southern front? There's not really a lot of fighting that goes on down here. But anyways, we're going to get on to it. And so moving on down to the Donetsk area, we have not seen any combat today or any frontline movements beyond Marinka, which has been a slow-burning battle ever since the very start of this war. And so let's check out this video from Radio Free Europe showing us what's been going on down here and how the Ukrainians have been holding the Russians off. And so with that, here's the video, and of course, only in 540p, the best graphics that one can get.
Только что разведка сообщила о продвижении.
Man, that guy was shook from that explosion.
Пулеметчики заряжают, открывают огонь для подавления прохода диверсантов.
Ворожі ДРГ пробували заходити на позиції піхоти. Буває по 50-60 мін, ну саме більше 120 мін за день. Це був наступ на Павлівку. Пробували прорвати напрямки в нашу сторону і прийшлось працювати. Вистріл!
Выстрел!
В наше подразделение пошло 5 танков. Все они были уничтожены расчетами джавелинов. И все они там остались в поле вместе со своим личным составом. А у танкистов там вообще там джекпот. Туда они уничтожили 11 танков, 8 БМП, 1 МТЛБ и 1 УР-77. Это машины для разминирования.
That guy's reaction to the mortar going off is hilarious.
Let's go back and watch that again.
He does it every time.
He backs up.
He had to get in the zone for a minute to like withstand that blast. He looked up and everything.
Man, it blew. It fired, and you could tell. Like he went, ah, and then he walked back up to reload it again.
Дуже прицільно б'є. Перша для пристрілу, друга лягає в ціль. Готов?
читати американські, фінські, чеські, італійські, то воно вийшло вже, настріляли цих міст різного типу. То пів Європи ми точно вже, ленд-ліз працює повним ходом.
Russian forces still have the Ukrainian forces outgunned. How come they haven't
Дуже багато
won?
людей, дуже багато техніки, дуже багато всього. Дать нам хоча б половину того, що вони мають, вони б навіть сюди не дійшли. Поэтому такі перекоси. З меншими БК і з всім остальним ми стримуємо, ну, набагато переважаючи їхні сили.
Постріл!
And so with that, that's the end of the video. Of course, courtesy by Radio Free Europe, showing us such an interesting look at the mortar units operating around Marinka. And interestingly enough, Matty, I just noticed that you hit someone, and I noticed that they were actually someone trying to still propagate a beef in between us and the other channel, and then they went straight into Russian bot propaganda.
Yeah, they did. It actually must be Russian bots. I was in almost disbelief about that.
Now, just to add a little bit of detail about what happened in specifics and give some names, the channel we have quashed the beef with, because it had been a bit of a standing beef due to some misunderstandings and other things in the background, was Mercado Media. And what was interesting about what I said last night is that, you know, we weren't talking about you, we were talking about a lot smaller channels, still not going to give their name, but the message was for them and they know who they are. And I was like, you know, it wasn't meant to be taken that way by you. You know, I thought we were on pretty good terms beforehand, and I think people are just trying to keep us at odds for no reason. And so he actually responded, and he said, and, you know, not to read his email word for word or anything, just to paraphrase what part of it he said, is that I think this is an attempt by the Russians and Russian bots operating on behalf of the Russians to try and divide the Ukraine war YouTube section. And what we just watched was a bot come into the chat, sitting there and saying stuff about how weak I am or something like that, but it involved Mercado. And then right after that, he sits there and goes straight into calling Americans and Ukrainians Nazis and Satanists and all kinds of other stuff, and then we banned him. And you know what's crazy? I think he was right. I think Mercado's actually right about that, Matthew, because that guy just proved it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was kind of like doubting it for a minute, but believe it or not, that's weird that bots like watch closely enough to actually know there's a beef going on between two people. That must tell you that there's actual people behind it, not just computers.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's actually honestly insane. I didn't like when Mercado had said that on the email, I was like, oh man, I was like, you know, it's probably just like very fervent fans of each other's channel. But that guy just proved that guy wasn't a fan of either channel. That guy was just a bot, and he was just pretending to be a fan of his channel coming over here and trying to still keep beef going, but he wasn't. That was insane. I honestly, that was nuts right there. But anyways, with that, we're now going to be moving on from the news in Marinka, and of course, moving out of the Donetsk area. Nothing has happened today over here. Really, nothing's been going on. The front line hasn't moved, and it's still the way it was ever since pretty much the very beginning of the war. And so now moving on down into the area of Pavlivka, we saw some Ukrainian BTRs driving through the trees. Also, we're going to have to mute it. And dang, oh my god, they literally drove through the trees. Man, look at man, this is not Tony right here. This guy's like, put on the brakes, Tony. And then they just plowed through the whole tree line. Oh my gosh. But they all came out of it. Okay, they didn't come out of it that bad. And so with that, that's the end of this little video right here. And once again, pretty interesting to see that these guys just literally just plowed through a whole tree line. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from the southern front, because that's the only news we have is the Ukrainian armored personnel carrier blowing through a tree line. It's now time for us to move on into some more unfortunate news, I guess you could say, and into the Zaporizhzhia area, where we actually saw that a Russian cruise missile targeted and hit the Zaporizhzhia hydroelectric power plant. You can see it right out there. We see another one hit and explode.
Пиздец. Сука, это быстрее.
We see a third missile hit.
Ебать.
And with that, that's the end of the video. But once again, clear evidence. And of course, we don't need evidence anymore. Putin clearly admitted it. But once again, more proof that the Russians are deliberately going out of their way to target Ukrainian electrical infrastructure and try and knock it out. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from that video and on out of Zaporizhzhia and into our next video in Kryvyi Rih, where we actually saw a Russian missile hitting the town there as well. This one is a little bit more of an unfortunate story than just the electrical infrastructure being knocked out. The missile slammed into the side of this building and killed, let me make sure I'm reading this correctly, 2 Ukrainians were killed and 6 were injured, including 3 children. And so, quite a decent amount of these victims of this attack were children. We don't know if one of the ones that were killed was a child, but we do know that 2 Ukrainian citizens were killed and 6 were injured. And you can see the damage that was caused to the building right there. We can see, of course, the firefighters and response forces there trying to help save anyone that they can and clear up the rubble. But once again, a very unfortunate sight to see, and it's just, you can't even put it into words anymore. This happens so much. I don't even know what in the world I could say anymore to add on to this, rather than it's a crime and the Russians should pay for it. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from Kryvyi Rih and down into Kherson, where we also saw more missiles hitting Kherson as well. Here, and to just read off the caption, in the early morning hours of December 16th, Russian artillery shells struck residential areas in Kherson. As a result of the shelling, several apartments in a multi-story building caught fire, and Ukrainian firefighters found one citizen killed in an apartment, and 3 others were wounded. And you can see right here the apartment building with a fire ablaze on top of it, and a firefighter climbing up there to either battle the blaze or try and get people out of the building. One or the other. But once again, while this one wasn't a missile attack, I actually forgot the news, the specific story. It is still an unfortunate incident. And once again, the Russians deliberately going out of their way to target residential areas and citizens at large and try and kill as many of them as possible by the most indiscriminate means. And so with that, we're now going to be moving, and let me make sure I'm correct with this. We're now going to be moving, and this is actually interesting to me. We're way ahead of schedule. We're about 10 minutes ahead of schedule, as a matter of fact. But we're moving up to Kyiv to now cover the speech from President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. And so without further ado, here's the speech from the one, the only President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Let me just turn this up.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці. Перш за все, дякую нашим бійцям повітряних сил, нашим зенітникам, розвідникам і усім іншим, хто захищає, хто допомагає захищати українське небо. Сьогоднішній результат – 60 ракет збито. Відзначили всі повітряні командування. Центр, південь, схід та захід. А особливо результативними були бійці 96-ї зенітної ракетної бригади, які прикривають Київську область. Понад 40 ракет терористів було знищено саме в небі центральних районів країни і поблизу Києва. Я дякую вам, воїни. Але, на жаль, є влучання. Терористам потрібна така масовість ракетних нальотів, щоб хоча б частина їхніх ізділій досягала призначених цілей. Всі їхні мішені сьогодні цивільні. І це в основному енергетика і об'єкти теплопостачання. Певно, внаслідок цієї війни сенс слова «терор» для більшості людей світу буде асоціюватись передусім з ось такими божевільними діями Росії. В Кривому увесь день тривав розбір завалів житлового будинку, в який влучила одна з російських ракет. В переліку загиблих на цей час 3. Мої співчуття всім рідним. Ще більше 10 людей поранені, в тому числі й діти. Усім надається допомога. Аварійні відключення електрики були застосовані сьогодні по всій країні в більшості міст і регіонів. В Києві та 14 областях також, як наслідок відключень енергії, зупинилося водопостачання. Наші енергетики і ремонтні бригади ще під час повітряної тривоги почали працювати і роблять це можливо, щоб відновити генерацію і постачання. На це потрібен час, але це буде. Прошу усіх наших людей зараз проявити терпіння і дякую кожному і кожній, чия робота це в будь-який час і за будь-яких обставин повертати нормальність життя. Прошу і представників обласної та місцевої влади бути активніше в створенні додаткового запасу енергоміцності. Будь ласка, активніше співпрацюйте з бізнесом, щоб більше компаній долучилися до мапи пунктів незламності. І прошу кожного зараз, звичайно, за можливості подбати про тих, кому найскладніше, про літніх людей, родини з дітьми, переселенців з районів бойових дій чи з окупованої території. Якщо можете допомогти, будь ласка, допомагайте. На що б там не розраховували ракетопоклонники з Москви, це все одно не змінить розстановки сил в цій війні. Їм ще вистачить ракет для кількох таких масованих ударів. Нам вистачить цілеспрямованості і віри у себе, щоб і після цих ударів повертати своє. І ще одне. Євросоюз затвердив 9-й пакет санкцій проти Росії за війну. 9-й. Але, очевидно, не останній. Бо очевидно, що тиск потрібно підвищувати. Я дякую всім тим лідерам і країнам, які боролися за міцніший пакет. Але будемо працювати з Єврокомісією, з лідерами країн ЄС, з громадськістю Європи, щоб і наявна санкційна політика працювала на закінчення війни і не давала Росії неправильних сигналів, що нібито хтось готовий послаблювати тиск. Я дякую усім, хто зберігає принциповість. Слава усім, хто працює заради нашої перемоги. Слава усім нашим воїнам, які героїчно відбивають усі намагання російських найманців закріпитися в Бахмуті. 17-та окрема танкова бригада, 46-та окрема аеромобільна бригада. Слава вам, хлопці! Слава усім, хто воює за Україну. Повітряні сили, ще раз дякую. І останнє, буду повторювати це постійно. Шановні наші партнери, знайдіть можливість надати нам надійний щит ПВО. Це порятунок життів людей. Слава Україні!
And with that,
Love Ukraine.
That is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, and that also wraps up our day 297 news summary a little bit earlier than normal, interestingly enough. But still, I thank you all so much once again for watching this news segment. If you did enjoy, please make sure to hit the like button, make sure to comment, and make sure to subscribe, because we run this news every single day of the week, every single day of the war, except for Mondays every week. We take that day off, but every other day you can expect to find us here, and also you can expect to find videos every so often. It was supposed to be daily, but today I couldn't get to it due to helping out with running some errands today, so I couldn't get to a video. But we try and make videos as much and often as possible, so not only do you get streams, but you get videos too from this channel, and hopefully ones you'll enjoy. And so with that, we're now about to be moving on into the question segment, where we're going to look at the poll span, and we're going to look at the pin span, and we're also going to be looking at all the super
saw that.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at all the super chats that have been thrown in, addressing those, and also, not last but not least, getting to the live chat questions as well. Once again, to reiterate this, you do not have to send in a super chat to have a question answered, just in case you're new to this channel, because I did notice that according to the stats, we have gotten about 50 new subscribers tonight, largely showing us that the audience may be somewhat new. And you do not have to send in a super chat to have your question answered. All you have to do is @Enforcer or @EnforcerMatt, and the question will be collected from the live chat. If you do want to support this channel, though, to help us to keep this thing running, because we don't make any money off of ads, and we also don't run any ads on these streams, throwing in a super chat helps this channel to keep on running behind the scenes. And that's really what the super chat's for. And if you want to throw in a question, we will, and of course I feel like I'm obligated whenever anyone sends in a super chat to answer a question, I would be more than happy to do that. But with that, it's now time for us to get on into the segment. And so with that, what do we got?
All right, so we have two polls to address, and the first one said, do you think it's possible that the Kerch Bridge has been struck again, even though the reports are inconclusive? It looks like 67% said yes, it's very possible, 25% said not sure, and 7% said no, probably not. Now, I'll have to say, from what I've seen thus far while I was researching during the speech, it looks like the bridge likely was not hit. So I'm going to be within that 7% that said probably not. It sounds like explosions happened in Crimea, but not on the bridge. But still, that is still inconclusive, so we don't know for certain. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'm going to have to say, I'm kind of mixed. I don't really know. I would have to more so lean on the side of I'm not really sure because I don't know if the bridge was hit, considering that no traffic's crossing. That's pretty interesting. But beyond that, I couldn't really say anything definitively, so I think I'm going to have to remain in the not so sure category. And so with that, I hope I answered that poll fairly well. Probably not well at all. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one says, let's see here. Where did the next one go?
Where did it go, Matthew? Where did it freaking go?
It ended without me ending it, apparently. Let's see here.
Well, wait a minute. Is it the one about UK PM Rishi?
Yes.
Oh, it's still up, according to me.
Huh, how come I can't see it? So,
one second.
Can you read off the results? Because I cannot see it.
Moving on to the
can you
next
end
result. United Kingdom Prime Minister Rishi Sunak orders audit of Ukraine war progress, source says. Will UK continue to support? 77% of y'all say yes, it's simply for accountability. 16% said not sure, need more info. 4% said maybe not, that's a bad sign. And 3% said no, they will slowly reduce support.
Okay, so now I can see it again. I had to pop out the little chat box. I don't know what happened to it. That's weird. But anyways, on this one, I've got to say that the fact that he is calling for an audit of the war progress seems to indicate that something is not going to the status he thought it would be going. So that's definitely probably not going to result in increasing support, would be my guess. So I would say not sure. I need more info, but my gut reaction is telling me that's probably not a good sign. But Enforcer, what say you?
Well, I would say the United States has already started to do something similar with the U.S. inspectors inside of Ukraine traveling around making sure that funds are being allocated properly. I don't really think it's that bad. I think it's good to have accountability, especially for the kind of support monetarily and militarily that's being sent, just for the fact of having it and having some kind of a surety. So in my opinion, not that bad. But, you know, of course, whenever those things come up, it could be a scapegoat to try and jump out. So while I don't think it's that bad, there's still the possibility for it to go south really bad. Also, someone said nobody voted for the current prime minister in the United Kingdom. Nobody really votes for any of the prime ministers in the United Kingdom. They're selected by the party. You vote for your member of parliament, and then once your member of parliament enters parliament and they're a member of a party, say like the Conservative Unionist Party or the Labour Party or any other party, because I think there's about 8 of them, they then collaborate with their party if they are the majority on who they'll pick as the prime minister whenever it comes around. So in the United Kingdom, you never really vote for your actual, I guess you could say, leader of your nation. It's more so that your representatives vote for them instead, which is kind of odd because, you know, in the United States, you vote for the, you vote for the president, you vote for your representative, your senator, but in Britain, you only get one vote, and that's for who's going to be your member of parliament. But anyways, with that, I hope that addresses the statement fairly well, and we are on to the next poll.
Right, so that was our last poll. So moving back to our super chat questions, up first we have a $20 donation from William Allen, longtime channel viewer and supporter, who says, can't watch much recently, but watch the reruns and the next day. Here's some bucks just to let you know I'm still supporting you guys, and
and thank you so much, William Allen, for the support. You have not been around for a while, and I have noticed that, and it's good to have you back. And also, thank you so much for the support as well. It means a lot for us, especially currently, because it's Christmas time. And so I gotta thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for viewers like you, William Allen, this channel probably wouldn't have ever been possible for as long as it's been. It's been 300 days, and we've never had to run a single ad on the stream to ever keep it alive. It's been entirely y'all's support and y'all's viewership that has helped us to keep this thing going. And I got to thank y'all so much once again for the support and keeping this thing alive. It really does count a lot. And I got to thank you so much, William Allen, for being an old guard member of the Lee Spring Army. And so with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you so much once again for the support.
All right, and up next, we have a $10 super chat from Notoria85, and we also have a $10 super chat from E3ECO, who says coffee.
And thank you. Everyone really sent in simple super chats tonight, didn't they? Like, we had like 2 or 3 of them that said coffee. But I got to thank y'all so much for the support. I'm actually trying to cut back on the coffee, but at the same time, we do need support for the coffee fund. If it wasn't for that coffee, this wouldn't be possible either. And I got to thank y'all so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for the coffee fund, who knows where we'd be right now. And so thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Landlubber, who says, who puts in a $10 donation and says, over the course of the war, I have seen what looked like dangerous fire techniques from AFU soldiers. Seems pretty dangerous. What say you, Enforcer?
I would say sometimes we do see dangerous practices being, I guess you could say, brought around by both sides. You know, the Ukrainians are not at fault from that either. Like, for example, when they went over the top, the machine gunner sitting behind them and just kind of aiming down their backs, waiting for them to move out of the way. That was a little dangerous, but at the same time, it is a war, and I'm sure that a lot of people are pumped up on adrenaline, sometimes not really thinking all the way straight. And so I guess sometimes in war, even for both sides, giving the Russians a little bit of a pass here, I think that adrenaline will make some people do things that aren't exactly the safest. But still, by and large, the Ukrainians do have a lot more gun safety than the Russians do. If there is ever such a thing as gun safety in war when you're actually trying to shoot other people. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Margaret Hemsley, who puts in a $10 donation and says, this will pay for a minute of your time once you're lawyers. Take a question from the chat. And that's kind of wild to think, isn't it? $10 is like, let's see. So that would be, I'm not good at math, so never mind.
Well, thank you so much for the support. And also, thank you for paying for a minute of our time. That means we can only give you exactly 1 minute on the stream, but I do have to thank you, and we're on to the anyways, I got to thank you so much once again, because it helps this channel to keep on running, and that's actually really crazy to think about, that would only be a minute worth of our time, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. It's wild to think about.
Wait a minute, hang on. If it was a minute of our time for $10, if I'm correct, that means that it would be $100 for 10 minutes, and then $600 for an hour. So,
oh dang! Now what kind of lawyer's charging $600 an hour?
I think it would be closer to like $2 a minute, if I'm correct. So let's see, two. Oh no, wait a minute, hang on, let me think.
$200 an hour should be about right for an attorney.
Let me do that real quick. 2 times 10 times 6. That's 20 times 6. I think that's closer to it. I think like $3 probably would be closer to around $200 an hour. But I would not be ripping people off like that, because $600 an hour is just insane. Like legal work is not that difficult where it has to be $600 an hour. Of course, inflation is happening, so it'd probably be realistically $250 to $300 an hour, but $600 an hour is just a ripoff. I would never pay an attorney $600 an hour to do anything. And if y'all are, make sure to really look into what they're doing and make sure that they're not just sitting on their case, sitting on your case and filing nothing on it, because I'm sure that's what someone charging those kinds of prices must be doing, because they're already some kind of a scam artist. And so with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well, and thank you so much once again for the support.
You know, honestly, this might be controversial, but just for thought, they ought to like put a cap, like an ethical cap on the hourly rates for attorneys. And not just for attorneys, but also doctors for what they can charge for things, because it's getting absolutely outrageous what's being charged for these professional like people, like lawyers and doctors and things like that.
Let's pull up. How much does an attorney cost per hour? Attorneys' hourly fees range between $100 and $400, according to the RVO.com. How much can a lawyer charge per hour? So interesting. It's actually more on par with what we were saying in Alabama. I just cannot see paying someone $600 an hour to do that job. You know, like being an attorney, it's got a lot going on with it, and especially a lot of learning that's involved. But still, like $600 an hour, that would be insane. Like honestly, at that point, you would have to be saving the world single-handedly as an attorney to be paid $600 an hour. But if I was making that much, and if it was actually worth my, I guess you could say if my work was worth, that would actually be pretty insane. But I don't even think I would ever do that, because that's just way too much. Like, that's way too much to charge people. And most people who get attorneys, you know, you're just ripping them, especially if you're an estate attorney, then you're just trying to rip them off and take as much as you can out of the pot that they're about to get in inheritance. But anyways, with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. We went down a kind of like an inadvertent rabbit hole right there. But with that, we are on to...
And I have one more thing that I have to say. I saw Magic Sky Girl say, I only hire attorneys for contingency cases. And the funny thing about that is, when you hire an attorney for a contingency case, there's actually a cap on how much they can charge you for the contingency. There are instances where it's unethical to charge, like, I don't know what the number was. I think it's like higher than 40 or 50%. But it really depends, and it comes down to the circumstances. But it's not the same for hourly rates. It's really weird, but... yeah, but I'm not going to rabbit hole too much more on that.
But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you so much once again for the support and allowing us to give you, according to what I'm looking at on my timer, like 4 or 5 minutes of our time instead. I hope that is worth $10. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep alive.
All right, so up next, we have a $10 super chat from Margaret Hemsley, who says this will... oh, wait a minute, that's the one we just read off a minute ago. I forgot to put a red box on it. All right, so moving on to our next one, we have a $10 super chat from Awoken State, Florida, who says, for some deep fried beer battered gator bites.
Oh wow, those actually kind of sound good. You know, like Matthew was actually very adverse to the flavor of gator because he had never tried it before until we got some from a restaurant. And oh man, is gator good? Charlene, if you haven't tried yourself a gator, you better try it. It's good. But anyways, I gotta thank you so much for the support, and thank you so much for supporting the Beer Battered Gator Fund. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I thank you for helping this channel to keep on running and coming up with an interesting fund to do it. We got a fund for everything, and I thank everyone for supporting them as well. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Raymond Nagel, who puts in a $10 donation and says Enforcer Campaign Fund.
Oh, wait a minute. Enforcer Campaign Fund?
Yeah.
Enforcer Campaign? Who said I'm running for president? I'm selling NFTs. I'm just kidding. But anyways, I gotta thank you so much once again for the support. Of course, one day I will run for president, about 18 years in the future. And I hope to win that election, and I hope to become whatever number president of the United States it'll be. People get focused too much on numbers and years and stuff like that, you know, like, this year, come on guys, it's 2022. Like, that's supposed to be any indicator that things were supposed to change. You know, it's like, oh yes, I had it on the list that there was supposed to be social change A, B, and C by the year 2012. We are behind schedule. Like, I don't know why people are like that, and I don't know why people put, like, credit into the number nowadays that a president will be. Like, I can't wait to be the 46th president of the United States. I would just be glad to be a president at all. I don't even care if the numbering system's out of order. I don't care if I'm number 62. I would just like to be a president. That's all. You know, it's like, is that too much to ask? You know, just being indescript about the number, just wanting to be one. But anyways, I thank you so much for the support to the campaign fund. And also, let me ask y'all, would y'all vote for me? Seriously. I feel like that's an echo chamber, though, because, you know, if you're here, you're obviously a fan of the channel. But with that, thank you so much once again for the support to the Enforcer Campaign Fund. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running.
All right, and our next one goes to Mr. Diggs, who puts in a $10 donation and says, thank you for the search on Crimea, and thank you from the ranks of the LSA. Thank you for sovereign territory with protected borders to spam rabbit holes. Do you think Ukraine will be able to receive civilians in 2023 to 2024?
And thank you so much for the support, and also thank you for enjoying this channel so much. You're coming up with some really cool, like ways to describe that. And to answer that question, I think they could. I think by mid-2023, we'll probably see that they're taking a large amount of civilians returning back. So I would say yes. In short, I think they could. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep alive. And with that, and now I'm saying it again, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Banana Boat 30 Plus, who puts in a $7 donation and says, send M60 to Ukraine. The modernization they went through would put them leagues ahead of the T-Series tanks. The Marines are looking for an excuse to adopt a new light MBT. Slava Ukraine.
And thank you so much for the support. And also, thank you, thank you so much for calling the T tanks T-Series tanks. There's a YouTube channel called T-Series that actually was embroiled in a lot of, I guess you could say, internet like battles and wars a couple of years ago, especially against a large channel called PewDiePie, which if y'all have ever heard about it, that was a big deal. I mean, like, you couldn't escape that. No matter where you were on the internet, you eventually heard about it. And so I got to thank you so much once again for saying that those tanks were T-Series tanks. And also, I do think that any Western tank, regardless whether it was an Abrams, a Leopard, anything like that, I think they would be leaps and bounds above. Oh, goodness. Holy moly. Anyways, they are leaps and bounds above anything that the Russians can throw at the Ukrainians. And I think that they would definitely make a better impact than any other, I guess you could say, Soviet-era tanks that have been upgraded by former Eastern Bloc countries. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And also, you know, something that's always interesting to me, Matthew, every time I talk about becoming president, I would, yeah, also, someone just said that running in 2040 would be done because MIT predicts that it would be the demise of the U.S. You know, back in the 60s, funnily enough, they actually thought that by the year 2020, the entire, well, actually the year 2018, the entire world would be run by some kind of like a globalist government, you know, like, you know, and it would literally be divided up into sectors. Countries wouldn't exist anymore. That doesn't really exist, though. And I know someone's about to go, it does. Then why is China a rival, and why are we almost at war with Russia? If that really existed, why is that the case? And also, why do we have nothing to do with South America and Africa almost nonstop? But moving on from that, everyone is always predicting that something will collapse and something will end. And, you know, if they think, people are sensitive these days, I got to be honest with y'all. People cry and whine a little bit too much in the United States about how this country is going to be falling apart in the next few decades. Weren't people back in the 60s saying that the hippies were going to kill America and turn it into some kind of communist hellhole by the 90s? When did that happen? That never happened. None of these like predictions ever really happened. It's just fear mongering. It's just some people trying to act like, oh, you know, I'm enlightened. You know, the whole world will come to an end, and I'm smart because I think it will. I don't believe that one bit. America is an incredibly strong country, and no country ever just collapses and falls apart. I mean, like, hell, even Russia survived the collapse of the Soviet Union, although it didn't come out the end the same way it went in. It still kind of came out and still exists to this day. And if the United States ever went through a tumultuous thing, it would survive. Look at how many things it's already survived. It survived the War of 1812. It survived the Civil War, the Great Depression. It survived World War II. That one was kind of a little bit of a cakewalk, though. It survived the Cold War. It survived multiple economic recessions that we don't even talk about, like the Great Panics of the 1800s. It survived the Spanish flu and other kinds of epidemics that have passed through. We're not talking about the recent one, but the ones centuries and decades ago. I mean, this country's gone through a lot, like everyone, and I think it's really a disservice to say, regardless of who's running it or where it's going or what direction the nation's going in, is that it will fall apart in a couple of decades. I just don't believe so. And on top of that, that's really discrediting the entire citizenry of the United States. American citizens, much like many citizens in other countries around the world, are very hardy and enduring people. And the idea that they would allow a country to fall apart, even if right now it seems that both sides are kind of running this thing straight into the ground as fast as they can, there will, you know, to just cut to the actual phrase and saying, they say that tough times create tough people and weak people create tough times. And right now we're kind of in that phase. It's kind of like an up and down path. We're kind of right now in the phase where weak people are creating tough times. And these tough times will create great people. And then these great people will create weak times. And then, you know, so on. So, anyways, what I'm trying to say is that I don't think America would collapse by then. I think we'll persevere on and on and on. And honestly, if anyone else thinks that about your country and the world, that it's falling apart, no, it's not. You know, there's been a lot worse things that have ever happened. If you ever look through your nation's history, I'm sure there's at least 10 things you can count on each hand. Wait, no, 5 things you can count on both of your hands that would have led to your nation having a much worse time than it's having right now. But anyways, and now everyone's like, now everyone's trying to like insert political quote here, Matthew. Do you see that? They're like, but you know, something I would say is that by the time 2040 comes around, if the United States is falling apart and that was true, I would hope that I'd eventually, well, I would hopefully be able to either slow the collapse or reverse it. Reversing it is almost unrealistic, to be honest with y'all. If it was that bad off by 2040, I wouldn't be able to stop it. The best thing I could do is slow it. None of the emperors of Rome, no matter how great they were in the later parts of the Roman Empire, they were never able to stop the collapse of the Roman Empire. They were only able to slow it. And you also got to remember, just like, and I'm going really down a massive philosophical rabbit hole, but it's only 1056, so I guess it's fine. But a lot of people always say that once you're born, you're in a constant state of dying, and you're just really counting down the time until you'll die. Well, countries are always like that. Countries, much like people, are in a constant state of dying. Once they're formed, they will only exist for so long before they actually do collapse. And there will be a million times in its history that it'll look like it's just about to collapse, and then it'll completely rebound for no reason, but then there will be that one time that just finally gets the thing. But you're probably not going to see that in the modern world. It's going to be really tough, especially considering how interconnected it is. If the United States went down, a lot of the world would be going with it. I mean, like, hell, even countries you wouldn't expect to go down, like China, would probably also go down the tubes along with the United States. So I just don't really see it. I just don't. But I'm sorry about going down that massive rabbit hole. Also, Matthew, Jose Gonzalez, oh my God.
He's back.
That profile picture, though, do you see it?
Oh, no. He just ruined the value of the NFT.
No. Oh, no. Anyways, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for supporting the Enforcer for President Fund.
All right. And also, since we see it, Jose, thank you for the support very much. We did figure out what that said last night, and sadly, we can't read that off on stream. But happy birthday nonetheless. I'm pretty sure it's a fake person.
You know, but
also,
but we do
you
say
run the value of you run the value of the Orange Man in NFT, by the way.
But Matthew, we do say that Putin will hang in the middle of the Kremlin. What's really different about that and hang Putin?
I don't know. I feel like this one might have like a double meaning or something.
But still, I think that person so much for their support, or Huang Putin. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for support, Jose Gonzalez. And we caught that last night, but we'll do it tonight since you're persistent on that. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, all veterans, please listen up, because this is going to be something you're going to want to hear.
Oh God, I know
you
which
might
one's
get upset.
coming up.
We have a $5 super chat from Commander COVID-19, who says, Kuwait, I repeat, Kuwait is not a deployment. I hope your finals went well. Pull a question from the chat, and congrats to the future lawyers and president. Slava Ukraine.
And thank you so much for the support. Right now, all of the Air Force veterans are going to be killing you. Yes, Kuwait's a deployment. I get the deployment ribbon for it. They're going to be slaughtering you, man. I'm just kidding. Every branch of the military is tremendous. They do a great job. And of course, I just joke about it every once in a while, but don't take it seriously. If you're in one of those branches, I'm not pissing on it. I got a lot of respect for the Air Force, the Marines, the Army, and the Navy. And the Coast Guard. I really had to debate, like, they are a branch of the military, but they rarely ever see a lot of combat. But it's still, they're a very invaluable branch of the military, because if you're out on the sinking ship right off the coast of the United States, those guys are the best people on earth, and so they do deserve the credit. But moving on from that, that's funny to hear you say that Kuwait's not a deployment, because that seems to be the biggest debate I ever hear about people who ever get deployed to Kuwait and people who are deployed elsewhere, is if Kuwait really is a deployment or not. And of course, me not really being a veteran, I don't want to get involved, or a serviceman. I don't really want to get involved in that debate. I feel like that's more so for y'all to battle out. But still, answer this. If y'all are a veteran or a current service member, do y'all consider that a deployment or not? Because y'all do get a deployment ribbon for it, I believe, if I'm correct, Matthew.
You're asking the wrong person.
Kuwait deployment ribbon. Let's see here. That's the Kuwait Liberation Medal. I don't think everyone gets that one. Do they? Let's see. LOL, the Coast Guard had to clean up the bodies. See, Korea's after that war. Let's see, the Marines or Navy. Yeah, that's correct. The Marines are actually a department of the Navy, but they are considered a separate branch as well in a way, although it's kind of weird because you really look at the administrative side of things, they're really just a subsection of the Navy, but at the same time they get recognized as a branch. But let's see. what about Space Force? That is true, actually. The Space Force is brand new, and I actually have a friend. Cool enough, I get the bragging rights to say this. I actually have a friend that scored a 99 on the ASVAB and actually managed to get into the Space Force. He's currently in basic training for the Space Force, and I'm actually really excited for him. That is a really cool thing. They are only taking a few thousand, I believe, applicants this year to go into basic for the Space Force, and he is one of the first to actually enter it. He's kind of like one of those people to enter the U.S. Air Force when it had just been created, I believe, in 1947, if I'm correct, Matthew. Or was it 1949? When?
Let me think for just a second. Let's see.
He's pulling it up. When was he? 1947. I was correct the first time.
1947.
So he's kind of like one of those people, although it kind of existed as the Army Air Corps before. It's now his own branch. And now, much like the Air Force once was way back in the day, he's now joining the Space Force. And I thought that was so cool. And I hope he's having an okay time out there. I know he's not watching the stream because it's basic, you know, it's not a cakewalk. But, you know, maybe he'll be back and tell me how it was. And so with that, we are... What in the world were we even addressing, Matthew? I've completely rabbit holed on that so bad I forgot what the...
Wait, it's not a deployment from Commander COVID?
Yeah. So I wonder, do y'all consider that a deployment or not? Because I'm seeing some people going, yeah, no. I'm seeing a lot of mix. Explain why it's not a deployment. I would be interested to know. But with that, thank you so much once again for the support and enjoying this channel so much and also supporting us to help this thing keep running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Real quick, I got to point out a comment I just saw in the live chat from Jason Brown. He said the USA is still a very immature country. China is the oldest continuous human society. Wake up, mate. I don't know what Jason's going for there, but if you're advocating that China is somehow better than the United States, I don't know where you're coming from, because China is doing some heinous things right now. And if you consider them more mature than the United States, that's definitely interesting. Enforcer, what do you think about that comment?
I want you to know... China. Wait a minute. Where do you reckon he was from?
I couldn't tell. His profile picture was kind of vague.
Okay. So, you're actually wrong. The oldest continuous society in the world would actually be somewhere in Iraq, if you want to call it that. And the really honest truth is that doesn't really have anything to do with anything, because the Han Dynasty is totally different than the Chinese Communist Party. Two totally different countries. Two totally different cultures. They're not even mutually inclusive with each other. They may as well be two entirely separate countries in separate parts of the world for all we care. There is nothing similar in between Norman Britain. Well, I'm sorry, actually, correction, I got that wrong. There's nothing similar in between Anglo-Saxon England and the United Kingdom there is today. If you took Anglo-Saxon England, their cultural ideas and everything about them, and you transported all those people forward in time and plopped down in a second England in the North Sea, and it was Anglo-Saxon England, those people would be so different from the United Kingdom that they would be unrecognizable. There is no such thing, really, as a continuous culture or a society. It changes so much that after a certain amount of centuries, it just becomes totally different. It's not even the same as it once was before. Like, hell, a lot of people always, and this is something I always find funny in the United States, speaking about continuous societies and cultures, a lot of people in America in the political sphere always say, our founding fathers would have wanted this, our founding fathers would have wanted that. And these people don't get, on both sides of the coin, you know, this is both parties saying this, these people don't get, the founding fathers were so different in their ideals as Enlightenment thinkers and people in general that they would be totally different, not the complete opposite, but totally different in many ways from the people who currently dominate the political sphere today. So different that they wouldn't even find hardly any common ground, most likely. It's really crazy when you think about it like that. But that has nothing to do with anything, and that doesn't give China any credit. So what? They're the oldest continuous society, according to you. Does that mean that they have a better military or a stronger economy than us? No, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a bragging right, I guess, but doesn't really amount to anything in the modern world. Doesn't amount to squat. So also, Susan Lowell throwing out the truth. China on the brink of economic collapse. Yes, they are, and that's probably what makes it even a little bit funnier when someone says that like it's bragging rights. So they're a continuous society, though, Susan. You're totally wrong. Get your facts straight. They're a continuous society, so economic collapse is impossible because they got a bragging right. So that we are on to the next one. That was hilarious, man. Thank you for pointing that one out.
Yes, indeed. And up next, we have a super chat from Magic Sky Girl, who puts in a $50 donation. And thank you very much for that. Magic Sky Girl says, say this in the Mike Tyson voice. And I sent it to you on your Discord.
I think I can actually... let's see. So she wants me to say that super chat in a Mike Tyson voice.
Yes.
All right, so... I'm going to punch you right in your mouth. You're just a rat piece of... All right. Social media has made people too comfortable with disrespecting people and not getting punched in the face for it. Nah, ain't no city slicker for a Tennessee Elon. I mean Leon. I'm a slut-sucking slug that will knock you out. So let's get ready for fight night. I'm here in Japan. I'm Mike Tyson. Let's get ready for fight night. I scrooged up that last part so bad. And I said, sludge slucking slewer slug. Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
But I got to thank you so much for the support, Magic Sky Girl. Of course, that support helps us out massively in keeping this channel running. I believe that is actually one of the largest super chats of the night, and I got to thank you so much for that and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for viewers like you, it wouldn't be possible. And I hope you enjoyed that little bit of Mike Tyson. We only bring him out in small doses because otherwise we get people hating on him a little bit too much. But with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you so much once again. Also, real quick, to say some things, because some people are like, I think some people asked, like, how will the founding fathers be different than modern Americans? And honestly, there's not that much different. For once in history, the group of people that we're talking about can actually talk to us in quote unquote English and understand us. Because English has actually evolved a lot over 1,000 years. You can't even recognize English as it was 1,000 years ago as our own language. But moving on from that, the idea of recognizing religion for the large part at all to most of the founding fathers would be insane. And you know, of course, there's the exception. George Washington is probably one of the most interesting exceptions, considering he was the first president, but at the same time, the government made absolutely no mention of really religion at all. And that's something that would be totally aghast to them, is seeing politicians on both sides every once in a while using you know, really any religion. We're not even talking about Christianity in particular, although that's the largest one. Really any religion to say anything, like, that would be insane to them, because according to Enlightenment thinkers, and if you actually read a lot of their original text that they wrote about, they were like, there's just basic fundamental laws. There's really nothing that involves religion with this. And, I'm a religious person, but that's what they thought. And so that would be an entire affront to them. They would find that insane to even argue on that level. The other thing that would probably be an affront to them, especially George Washington, would be the idea of the existence of a political party. That right there is literally something that he laid out in his farewell address as something that should not exist, yet now there's only two of them. And so that would completely blow his mind. He would immediately enter back into his tomb and die immediately, and him spinning in his grave would be enough to generate power for Washington, D.C. It's just insane to ever see people go, and say stuff about our past and draw them into a modern setting. It's like, oh, no. It's like they were totally in their own time. They had their own rules, their own way of thinking. The culture was largely different. The society was different. Comparing people and saying what they would think is only something you can do over like several generational span, like 3 generations at best, maybe 4. Beyond that, it's getting so different you really can't include them. And of course, I would say that a lot of what the founding fathers thought it should be a guiding principle. I honestly think that George Washington was right about political parties. I don't really think they're necessarily beneficial to the United States as a whole. Of course, at the end of the day, people have to ally to try and get things passed, but at the same time, look at how much damage political parties have really done, just moving into that. But with that, I hope that kind of answers that question a little bit. And of course, it's not just that one thing. It's a whole bunch of other things, but I don't want to go and nitpick the entire government and everything that they're doing that would be a complete affront to the founding fathers initially. But with that, we are on to the next one.
Right. And up next, we have a $20 super chat from Captain Cross 1220, who wants you to read off something in the Mike Tyson voice, and I sent it to you in the Discord.
And wait a minute, another Mike Tyson voice?
Yes, Captain Chris followed suit to Magic Sky Girl.
Man, Captain Crunch. That's for some reason, that's what I thought. Anyways, did you send it?
Yes.
I don't see it. I see the one from Magic Sky Girl.
It's right below it.
Hasn't popped up for me.
It says enforcers for president.
I don't see it. No. Oh, here we go. Enforcer for president. Please read the Mike Tyson.
That was it.
Wait a minute, hang on, Matthew. Hang on. Let me do something. Enforcer for president. Pause. Repeat.
Yes. Parentheses.
Parentheses. Pause. Wait. Stop. Turn around. Don't read this.
Repeat the line.
Repeat
No,
the
wait a
line.
minute. Please read in the Mike Tyson voice. Period. Parentheses. Turn around. Repeat the line. Go again.
Come on, man. You expect me to believe this chap? But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
Oh, I remember when he actually did that. That was hilarious. It was almost like he was going to start rapping when he started reading off the like the teleprompter instructions.
Oh man, I mean, you know, it's just hilarious. I got to be honest with everyone. It's hilarious to see what the past, I would say, 4 presidents have produced in terms of comedic material. It's been hilarious through and through. I just got to be honest. With that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Raphael Harris, who puts in a $5 donation and says Russian missile attack on Kryvyi Rih seems to be personal. Z on Russian tanks is for Zelenskyy, as in Kyiv or bust. Slava Ukraine and Slava LSA.
And thank you so much for the support. And I would say that a lot of the recent missile attacks have started to really take the idea of them being personal more so than, I guess you could say, really anything that has any kind of strategic value. Because hitting residential areas in Kryvyi Rih and Kherson with shelling and missiles is something that I just got to say, it's there's no real way to strategically justify anything that they've done, but specifically now, it seems like it's all just reprisals and attacks against the Ukrainian populace as a whole to try and make them suffer for having high morale. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Right, and our next one goes to Try and Take Alaska. And he told me earlier that he meant to attach a question to it, but I didn't see it in the live chat. So if you do want to send one, let me know and I'll circle back to it. But he puts in a $5 donation and for right now doesn't leave a comment. But thank you very much for that support. And we do appreciate it. And I'll be on the lookout in the live chat. Next up, we have a $5 super chat from Anthony Bestwick, who says, Matt, I still think it's a toy. Oh, man. Come on, Anthony. He says, anyway, Ukraine should try to recruit members of one of the best infantry units in modern history and recruit in Nepal.
And I think that would be a pretty interesting idea. Also, I'd love to know, Matthew, that there are people who back me up to thinking that it's kind of like a toy, you know? Like I gotta be honest with you. That thing looks like a toy. It just does. It's like multicolored, you know, it looks like a Nerf gun, honestly, at least to me.
It may look like a toy, but it does shoot lead.
Remember, real guns have wood on them. I'm about to piss off an equally half of people.
No.
Real guns have wood like this one. You see how mean this one looks? Look at how nice that one is. Man, that
Walking
thing...
around my tree. I got a piece of tree with me.
Man, honestly, but seriously though, this piece of tree, if you ran out of ammo, it could be used like a baseball bat or even worse. Like, these things are heavy. Like, I have this thing, I think it weighs like 10 pounds? The Tommy gun behind me weighs like 25 at least, I think. I don't know. I would have to go and check the weight on it, but it's heavy. But with that, to get to the other part, can you reread the second part beyond the honey badger being a toy?
Ukraine should try to recruit members of one of the best infantry units in modern history and recruit in Nepal.
Oh, he's talking about the Gurkhas. Oh, yes. The Gurkhas are incredible. The Gurkhas are honestly fantastic. If y'all don't know anything about the Gurkhas are a unit in the British military, well, really a decent size of the British military these days, that have fought for the British, I believe. Let me see if I can back this up on here on Wikipedia. I can't, sadly. When did they start? Around the early 1800s. Also, they have the special knife called a kukri, which is really neat looking. And moving on down, we want to get to the modern Gurkha. Right here. These are some of the Gurkhas. The British only take Gurkhas from Nepal. So you have to be a Nepalese person to be a Gurkha. And these guys really do set the standard. They are go-getters. They really, I mean, like, hell, they really set a name for themselves in the Falklands War. They beat the Argentines straight off hills. They would climb up the hills under fire, attacking them the entire time, get to the top of the hill, engage in hand-to-hand fighting, wipe out the Argentines, and then push on towards the next hill. I mean, like, they were impressive. They were unbelievable, and I would have to agree with you 100%. The Gurkhas are a terrifying force, very hard fighting soldiers, and if they wanted a good fighting unit, the Gurkhas would be the ones to go for. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well, and I have to agree with you. The Gurkhas are a fearsome group. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, the bot that jumped in here by the name of Playbacks, Crimea is Ukraine. But also, moving back to that $5 super chat from Try and Take Alaska, he sent me his comment, and he said, "Poor Russian that the Ukrainians took prisoner, that was issued this gun. The look on his face when he realized what they issued him must have been priceless. You will remember gun is QB57.
QB57. QB57. Let me pull that up real quick and make sure. Oh my god. Oh my god. That is ugly. Ew.
Oh dear.
What is that supposed to be? Let's look at this thing a little more. Oh, God.
Look at that person shouldering it. Is it air gun?
I don't know.
Yeah, it says an air gun.
That is the ugliest air gun I've ever seen. I would never buy this thing, and if you own one, why? Why would you own one of these? They're just ugly. Ew. Now, this is a bullpup that really does revolt me. This is just next level nastiness. Someone needs to go out and find the person who made this thing and hold them to justice. Maybe put them in prison or something for this. This is... Whoa. Whoa. Well, let's see. Let's think of another cursed gun. Now, we'll save the time for now. We'll look at that a little bit later. But with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support.
And the next one goes to William Allen, who puts in a $5 donation and says, I'm good to see that there are no disputes between the enforcer and that other channel that we were talking about earlier that we thought we had beef with. He says, I view both channels and find intelligent info on chats on each site.
And thank you so much for the support. And I would have to say, it's pretty good to have that beef put down, because, you know, considering that we actually saw a bot come in here tonight, it was the most obvious one, trying to still stir beef and then going straight into Russian propaganda bot mode. That was actually pretty crazy to see, and it's good to know that we're not going to be having beef any longer because of bots going from one channel to the other and saying, hey, so-and-so said something about you, and having them say something and then having us say something, so that way it just keeps on going. It was just insane, honestly, at that point. So it's good to know that the beef is over with. And so with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you so much once again for the support.
All right, and up next, we have a $10 super chat from David Gormley, who says, how much per casualty did it cost the Russians in the last wave of bombs? It seems like millions of dollars to take out a few civilians. Total madness.
And that is true. It actually costs millions of dollars for them to launch each missile attack. I believe it may even be getting closer to the hundreds of millions. Maybe over 100 million for sure. But it's incredibly expensive, and most of them end up getting shot down, and only a few of them make it to their targets, and the ones that do appear to miss either the strategic target or deliberately hit civilian targets. And so it is pretty sickening to think about, and also it's good to know, though, that the Russians are expending probably over $100 million per cruise missile attack wave to have most of them shot down and really end up doing no damage at all. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And, of course, with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Richard Kame Gibson, who puts in a $5 donation and says, aloha from Waikiki again. Something for the coffee fund, and keep up the great work. You guys rock, and Slava Ukraine.
And thank you so much for the support to the coffee fund, all the way from Waikiki. like Matthew used to say, near Fort de Russie. Oh man,
That always gets me every
I
time.
always have to give a special shout out to Fort de Russie because it is hilarious. Anyways, it's cool to hear that you're still watching, and I thank you so much for supporting this channel and also being one of the Leaf Spring Army members from Hawaii. Waikiki looks like a really nice place. I'm sorry, everyone. I know. Wait, did I make you yawn?
No, that was me imitating you.
Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I know I yawn a decent bit. I know that some people excuse it. I still feel bad for doing it. I also catch a lot of heat off stream from both my mom and Matthew for doing it. Because, you know, and I'm sorry, y'all. I can't help it. If I could control that, I would. I hardly can, and it literally comes on an instant. I'll be talking, and then for some reason, I just immediately start yawning. I don't even have time to prepare. But anyways, I thank you so much once again for the support, and thank you so much for being a Leaf Spring Army member all the way from Waikiki Beach. And with that, we are on to the next one, but thank you so much once again for the support.
Oh, wow. Spaz Tasm says, I'm leaving for Waikiki in a few hours. Lucky
Really?
you.
Lucky?
Yes.
Maybe there could be a Leaf Spring Army meetup in between the two of y'all. That would be cool.
That's pretty cool. I don't know where they're leaving from. Is it the United States or somewhere else?
I wonder if they're leaving from California. I think you usually have to end up flying from somewhere in the United States to an airport in California and then flying from that airport in California, that was a bad way to mispronounce, California to Hawaii. But then, you know what? That's a pretty big industry out there, I guess. So, you know, I guess it slides. But anyways, it still doesn't slide.
That was almost as bad as the other one the other night.
California. And then you have to fly from there to Hawaii. So I don't know if that's how it works, but that was once again another good slip up and a gaffe. So with that.
Oh, Spaztasm's coming from Nashville. That's a pretty decently long flight right there.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Probably got a layover.
And there's the airport. Let's see what kind of aircraft service the airport. Let's see. 737s? That was definitely a 737.
That looked like an American.
And this one here looks like an American Airlines as well. And then we got Southwest, Matthew's most unfavored airline. He doesn't like Southwest. And then we got... What type of airline is that?
Is that Spirit or something?
It has to be Spirit. It's like all yellow, but I don't know what would have red lines on top of it. Another Southwest. A lot of Southwest here at this airport.
Spastastic. Which one are you taking? Are you taking Southwest, or are you going high class and going Delta?
I wonder what you're taking. But then again, Delta.
Oh, there's Spirit right there.
Oh,
there it was.
There's
that abomination right there.
That is definitely Spirit. They slam you down on the runway to wake you up in the morning. Good morning, everyone. We have just landed. We're at the new airport. Also, another thing, Matthew. You know, is it just me, or does everyone always have the hankering? If you're a gamer like me, I enjoy a good game. Does everyone have a hankering for a really good an airport simulator that actually has real airline companies that you can get contracts with and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because I've never found an actual airport management game where you could build an airport, a realistic one, and have fun with it. It's always something that's either cartoony or something similar, but I've always been wanting a realistic airport game to play. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, me too. If they could combine like GTA 5 like style free world with like the graphics of like Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator, that would be the best thing ever.
I think it would be cool. You know what would be really cool is if you could take like the Microsoft Flight Simulator game and add on a DLC where you can manage an airport. So it uses like the same I mean like this, like the same interface as whatever. And you can go back in time to like the 1920s when the whole thing started, and each town shrinks down to that size. It's like a somewhat accurate representation going off of the data. Well, that didn't exist back in the 20s. Anyways, maybe the 90s. That'd probably be the best because that's when that information and data collection started. And you could build an airport like in the outskirts of a town, like with the same graphics as Microsoft Flight Simulator, but you could build all the runways, all the taxiways, all the terminals exactly the way you wanted, build the roads, the parking lots and everything, get the contracts for the airlines, do all the resource management and stuff like that. I think that would be really cool. I would love a game like that. And I know in Alabama Cajun said Airport Tycoon. Airport Tycoon just doesn't really do it for me. Let me actually pull up my Steam.
Also, thank goodness Spaz is taking American Airlines. So that's better than Spirit.
Yeah, that's better than Spirit. Also, it looks like a new update just happened. Cool. Anyways, we're not here for that one. We're here for Airport Tycoon. So Airport Tycoon. Skyhaven. I actually have this game. My only problem is apparently they ran into licensing issues with the actual airlines in real life. So you end up having TWA and Pan Am into like the 2020, like the 2020s. I don't like that because, you know, and also it's a little cartoony looking, and I just want a game that actually looks realistic, you know. And this is not a bad game by no means. I think it's great, and if y'all haven't had an airport simulator, you want one, this is one of the ones to get. Still, I just want something more realistic and with a lot more features, like actual gates and, you know, like boarding ramps and things like that, not like a staircase going onto a plane. I just want that kind of stuff. And I know that this is a war stream, but, you know, since we were talking about airports and all that kind of stuff, I thought I would talk about Airport Simulator for a second. But with that, we are on to the next one. And also, I hope you have fun in Waikiki Beach.
All right. Yes, indeed. And up next, big shout to Marc-Andre Brunette for putting in a $7 super chat, but without a comment. But Mark, thank you very much for that support and being here every single night. And we do appreciate it very much. And up next, we have a $3 super chat from June Brooks. We also have one from The Weasel. And we also have one from Dupper Bob. Then we have a $2 donation from Doomsday Games, who says, any unexploded Russian missiles discovered lately?
Not yet. It doesn't seem that we've discovered any unexploded ones at the moment, but give it time, and I'm sure that we'll either find the remains of one that was shot down that didn't blow up mid-flight, or we'll find one that failed to detonate on, I guess you could say, impact. And so with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well, and we are on to the next one. Thank you so much once again to all of y'all for the support and helping this channel to keep on running.
Yes, indeed. And with that being said, we are now moving on to our live chat questions. This early, can you believe it? First up, let's see. Frequency Harmonic says, Enforcer, OMG, will you please stop saying beef and use another term?
Man, the grammar Nazis, goodness, it's tough. I would use another term, but it's really hard to come up with different ones. I'm sorry, Frequency Harmonic, please bear with it, though. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And also, Frequency, are you trying to have a beef with me? Please, hold the beef. I just had to do it. I'm sorry, man. But with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, so first up, we have to address our Morse code decoders of the stream. And tonight, we have a whole bunch. And newcomers, too. Sean Koshan, William Jones, Mark Hodges, BME, CFA, and WF2U have figured it out. They say Ukraine is waiting for the right moment at EDE. Then we will see something pretty cool happen.
And ding, 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 y'all did get it correct. I forgot why I misspelled it as EDE, but I just left it in to see if y'all would translate that. And y'all did! And I gotta say, good job. Of course, they are just waiting for the right moment, and once they get it, they will use it. And so with that, thank you all so much once again for deciphering the Morse code message. And of course, y'all didn't find any beef in there. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
And our next question goes to Xi Jinping. Real. Real. Do you think Trenchfoot will make a comeback?
I'm sorry, Matthew, but I think Xi Jinping real said, "What's up, Beijing?" But to answer
What's
that,
up, Beijing?
Oh, Matthew, we need to pull up that clip and show it at some point on stream. What's up, Beijing?
Yes, we do.
We do.
Bing Shiling.
Wait a minute. Let me pull up the copy pasta for that one. Bing
copy pasta.
Yeah, hold on. Bing Shiling. 1 second. I just gotta get it in front of me. I'll know it when I see it. All right. So. 小熊哈，双个，现在我有冰淇淋，或者水哈，冰淇淋，但是说到进去给9 boy 冰淇淋。
Boom. Then add the like sound effects in there.
Yeah. 我说冰淇淋，我说的话，冰淇淋。But anyways, moving on from that, we're having too much fun here. I do think we're going to see Trenchfoot making a return. The muddy and terrible conditions around Bakhmut, even though it's gotten a lot colder and so those should be subsiding a little bit, they're still there. And so I do think we will see casualties being caused by Trenchfoot and other similar elements. And so with that, I hope that answers your question. And thank you so much for tuning into our stream. I wouldn't think that a premiere so grand and illustrious as yourself would frequent such a stream as ours, a lowly stream like ours. But I thank you so much once again, and we'll have to make sure to implement your free speech quotas here in our stream, which we already do. And so with that, we on to the next one.
All right, so up next, we have a $10 super chat once more from William Allen, who says, the best airline I ever took was the Freedom Bird, coming home from Desert Storm, Mazara, Oman, to Anchorage, Alaska. 12 time zones and 39 flying hours.
Ooh, dang! That was
And
long.
jet lag to the extreme.
Man, William Allen, how are you alive? That level of jet lag ought to kill you. But that is so cool to hear, though, that 12 time zones. You literally flew halfway around the world from one side to the other. 12 time zones, that's half of them. Golly, man, that is crazy. Honestly, when you think about that, Matthew, that is insane. 12 time zones to fly over. 39
That is
hours.
wild. I thought a 12-hour flight was bad enough.
Oh, man. I don't think I could survive unless I was flying first class on Emirates. Just kidding. But anyways, I got to thank you so much once again for the support, William Allen. And the first time we ever flew on a plane was, believe it or not, I believe it was like a 9 or a 10-hour flight to the United Kingdom from Atlanta. And that was one hell of a flight. We were also flying coach class or economy class, or what I call third class, because that's what it is. And it was, man, I mean, like, you know, third class wouldn't be that bad if it wasn't always for that crying baby that cries for like the first 2
crying
hours.
kid.
Yeah, and then the
crying kid always does it.
Yeah, the first 2 hours of the flight, and then the last 2 hours of the flight, the kid's just crying his head off. And then also, you know, there's you know, I don't think coach class, it's getting cramped these days because they keep on like shrinking the distance in between the seats, and that's been proven. But at the same time, I don't think it would be that bad if it wasn't for some of the freak people that like hang out in coach class. Like, you know, like the person who pulls out like the noxious smelling like perfumes, or like the creams that give you like a headache, or the person that has like the crying baby. Like, I get they got a baby, but you know, it's like, dang, that baby is crying its head off. You know, it's just horrendous. And I think coach class would be a whole lot more hospitable if they just got these people off the plane. Matthew, at this point, I sound like that guy on the Mikado, you know, that famous song, I would put them on the list, I've got them on my list, you know, like singing that song.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, you don't know it. Oh, whatever. Anyways, with that.
But look, though, when we were on that flight heading over to Britain, the turbulence wasn't that bad, like handling it when you're over land. But once you get over the ocean and you know that there's no land for quite some time, all of a sudden that turbulence starts hitting different. And when you start bouncing around and everything starts rattling, it's like a whole different like mental experience to try to cope with it.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. For our first time flying, going like 10 hours, and we never experienced turbulence before. You know, we never flown in a plane to ever experience turbulence before that.
It was strong.
Like you would be in the plane, you'd be like, "Oh, this is so neat," you know, because when we took off the first time from Atlanta, we flew all the way up to Maine without even running into like a single bump of turbulence for the most part. We're like, "Oh, this is so cool." Then we got over Newfoundland, and for some reason, the turbulence began, and it didn't really stop until we got to Ireland. And you're like, "This is so cool," and then everything starts shaking. You're like, "Mother Mary, full of grace, save us from this place." You know, like you sit there and start praying and everything.
And then on the way back, the plane had some kind of like weird thing happen when we were taking off. There was like some really bad downdraft that like pushed the plane toward the ground right as it like lifted off the ground. Everybody screamed. I thought we were going down.
Like seriously, that one I knew I was not freaking out on, because like, okay, to explain what happened, to give you all the exact rundown, we were at London Heathrow, right? And we were taking off, on runway 27 right over here. So we were heading this way. We're heading westbound over Britain. So the airplane starts...
Very windy that day.
Yeah, the airplane starts rolling. It lifts off about right here around Heathrow Business Parking Terminals 2 and 3 at that part of the runway. It was a very short takeoff, actually. So then, you know, it tilts up probably like, I would say like 20 degrees of climb probably. And then about like 500 feet above the runway, the airplane feels like it just gets shoved down 100 feet in a second, like literally a split second. And
natural, you could feel it.
It felt like one of those falling tower things where you like strap in the seat and it just drops you. It felt like that for a straight second, but worse. And everyone on the plane started screaming. You know, it was like, oh, you know, then right afterwards, everyone's like, like laughing at each other, like really nervously and looking around to see, like, did I really react like an idiot? And everyone had. So that was insane.
I think it was that the going back part. I took some kind of thing. It's like the equivalent of Dramamine in the UK, like called sturgeon.
Yeah, it was a sturgeon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a sturgeon 10 or 15 or something like that. And it had me like knocked out on the way back, but that woke me out of the stupor because I thought we were going to die just then.
At that point, and funnily enough, Mandy, at that point, I thought I had gotten used to flying. Like, I was like, okay, I can fly. It'll be fine. You know, like, it's no big deal. Turbulence is nothing. I'll just, you know, it's nothing. It happens all the time. And then that happened, and that kept me on edge. The last time we flew, that was the last flight we ever took. And that was like in 2018 or 2019, I think. And we flew back, but that kept me on edge the entire flight because that was such a scary like thing that happened right then. And we were so low to the ground, I swore, like if we had been shoved down any further than what it felt like, we were just going to run back into the runway, and the aircraft was going to start skidding down the runway and into the freeway right at the end of the airport. So that was crazy, you know, like I was like, goodness. But anyways, that was our story of flight, you know, like a couple of stories of flying. I still like flying though, and I think it's really cool. But really, to be honest with y'all, I really like the concept of riding the train a lot better. Like, especially in Britain, like the train was first class compared to the airplane. And also, it was so nice compared to American trains. Like, we've only ridden American trains twice, Amtrak in between Birmingham to Atlanta. Both times it wasn't really the best. In British trains, even in standard coach class or third class, it was like top notch. It was like luxurious. But anyways, with that, thank you so much once again for the support, William Allen. I hope we addressed that one fairly well. And I saw you threw another one in, but I don't know if Matthew's got that one lined up to be next.
For William Allen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have it. It is next. William Allen put in another $10 donation and said, and it was no smoking all the way, did a stop in Cairo, Frankfurt, Shannon, Ireland, Bangor, Maine, Charleston, AFB, South Carolina, Malmstrom, AFB, Montana, Salt Lake City, Utah, SeaTac, Washington to Anchorage.
God. Good Lord. Wait a minute, hang on. Let's map that out. So, stopped in Cairo. So, you know, flew from somewhere around Kuwait or Iraq, somewhere in that area. Flew to Cairo, so he landed here, somewhere in the area. Then the plane took off again, and it flew to Frankfurt, Germany. So it went up over Italy. It came down here in Frankfurt, landed around there. Then they took off again, and then they flew from Frankfurt over here to Ireland, and then they landed in Shannon, which it would be, if I'm correct, on the west coast. I can't find Shannon for some reason. Where the hell is it? Like,
it's right there. It's Carrick on Shannon.
Is that it? I don't know if that one's the one. There's no airfield around it.
Maybe it's not the Carrick. Maybe it's just Shannon.
Shannon, Ireland. Shannon, County Clare, Ireland. Here we go. There it is. There's Shannon Airport, actually, right here. Where is this? This is wow, it's right by Limerick, which is also a form of poem. I don't know why I had to throw out that fun fact. But anyways, then he flew from there, and then they started the long haul all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, all the way over here to Bangor, Maine, which is up here. And then there's an airfield right over here, International Airport. Then they took off from there, and they flew down to South Carolina in Malmstrom. Charleston, South Carolina, sorry, correction. Charleston down here. Really cool city. Maybe one day I'll get there. And then they took off from there, and then they flew to Malmstrom Air Force Base. I want to say like Maelstrom, like the Norwegian Maelstrom storm.
It's Malmstrom.
Malmstrom. There we go. Let's take a look around this one. What kind of aircraft do they have here? Okay, they got Hueys. And they got more Hueys. And that's it. Actually, wait a minute, hang on. It's actually been converted from when he flew here to a helibase, like a helicopter air base. Because this isn't a runway. This is just for helicopters to take off on. That's why there's X's on the runway.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah, that's crazy. How time changes. That would have been like about 30 years later. It went from being an actual runway to a helicopter, pretty much like takeoff strip. But anyways, then he went from there to Salt Lake City. That one was probably like the shortest jaunt, honestly, from there to Salt Lake. Cool city, by the way, Salt Lake is, but then from Salt Lake to SeaTac, Washington. Why in the world did they do that? They took you from Montana down to Salt Lake and then back up to Washington. Seems like it would have made better sense just to fly from Montana to Washington, but you know, the military is military. SeaTac, Washington, and then on to Anchorage, just right up the way, right up here.
Just right up the way, just right up there.
Yeah, just right up the way, you know, just a little ways up yonder, down yonder. Probably to Elmendorf Air Force Base, which, wow, they've got a lot of C-17s and stuff here. But man, what a flight. You literally flew all the way around the world, pretty much.
Oh, and also, William said that Malmstrom is now a missile base, has the Minutemans at it.
Oh, wait a minute, really? Hang on, let me pull that one up again. Maelstrom. I don't, why in the world do I always say it like they're mad? I'm like, let me pull it up, and I'm all excited, and then I'm like, Maelstrom. But let me go through here. Let's see if we can find the missiles. Also, that little plane right there, it's had better days, for sure. But let's see.
It's got, like, crop circles around it.
Yeah. Let's see here. This. Nope, that's just some redneck's house, probably. Let's see here. The King's Arena. What is this?
That's Fight Club. Oh, wait a minute, it's a horse arena.
First rule of Fight Club. Also, this person is not a redneck. They just got some stuff laying around. Just in case if anyone's going to be like, oh, how dare you call him? But anyways, redneck isn't even really an insult, really. It's like a culture. But let's see. I can't find... Missile? No. Let's see. I can't find any missile. Maybe it's a missile command center. Maybe I misunderstood that. And they're saying the missiles aren't on the base. Everyone's like treating me like an idiot now, Matthew. They're like, missiles aren't on the base, idiot. And I was thinking they probably weren't, but I had to make sure. Also, there's a Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center here. What does that mean? Like, what does this involve?
Oh, nice models.
I like the bison. Man, those bison always look so soft and fluffy, but then they'll kill you, you know? they're like the total opposite. Also, we can see some, this is like post-Revolutionary War for the most part, I guess you could say. That is really cool. And also, that's a really nice looking place with a big, beautiful dam right down there. And also, look at that bed.
There's a look into Putin's future.
What?
A look into Putin's future.
You said look in the Putin's future.
Yeah, I know. I screwed it up. That's Putin.
Putin. But with that, thank you so much once again for the support, William Allen. I hope we addressed that comment fairly well and actually followed your entire adventure around the world all the way to its end in Anchorage. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And we are on to the next one.
And also, Marvin, a Nightbot is not an actual person. It's simply a bot. So if you see it saying something, it's pre-programmed. It's definitely not coming up with it on its own. You know what would be cool if we could have that new AI chatbot GPT-3 as the bot for the chat stream. They could respond. That would be super cool.
That would be really cool. Does it cost anything?
Well, it's experimental. There's like a little like page you can go to play around with it, which I have. It's very intelligent, like the smartest AI I've ever dealt with. But it's not like made for YouTube.
Oh man, but I'll tell you one thing, it will never replace PsyOps, I'll tell you that. So with that...
Of course not.
Of course not. PsyOps is a character on his own, and I wouldn't want to see PsyOps replaced. And also Susie Halsey and Iceland. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to John D., who puts in a $10 donation and says, check out Bakery Pizza, please. It's a Rhode Island style made to be eaten at room temp, usually served at gatherings.
And what is that thing again?
Bakery Pizza.
Bakery Pizza. Let's pull that one up. Bakery Pizza. Bakery Pizza. Wow. That is a thick pizza. Dang. That's like pizza bread, really. Also, Matthew, I'm about to address something in the live chat. I think we're going to have a flaming session here. So don't get rid of it if you see it. Just let it be. But this is actually really interesting. And it looks good. I would like to try it one day. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. And also letting us take a look at this cool little delicious treat. And with that, we are on to the next one. But before we move on to the next one, we got we got someone in here Have you seen him, Matthew?
Who is it?
Let's see. What up?
Is it the person that's sitting there talking about they're not a bot?
Yeah. Why do you think I was a bot? Just because they have a different opinion from you doesn't mean they're a bot, huh? You know, like sitting there saying all that stuff.
Yeah, I saw that part. I didn't see what they said before that.
This man's rabble rouser. Quickly, everyone, flame him. Oh man. But here's something to explain real quick. All jokes aside. Now you see, we allow different opinions all the time. We allow opinions on. I believe that the Russians are going to invade from Belarus. I don't believe they're going to. I think they're going to use nukes. I don't think they're going to use nukes. But one thing we don't allow is Russian bots, because simply being, we're a pro-Ukraine channel. And it's not really in our interest to have Russian bots around spreading their bullcrap and constantly getting in fights with me as I try and report my news and beef with me. That's one thing we're not into. And so that's why Matthew just gave you the ban hammer, my boy. And that's also why we don't allow those kinds of opinions. If you have that kind of opinion, I'm sure there's a channel out there like Patrick Lancaster who could oblige you in your opinions. You know, that's always my question with these bots. Why do they always come to my turf, you know, on my show, and try and tell me how to run it? You know, it's like there's a channel out there for everyone. If you don't like my jokey, high-pitched, annoying voice, you know, there's other streams out there that run news. And if you don't like Ukraine, you like Russia, there's YouTube channels out there that more so cater to your interests there. You just gotta go and find the channel, baby. It's not up to me to change my channel off of you. You're not the whole world, sugar. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on into the next one. And I hope that kind of explains for once why I'm always, like, whenever I see that, I'm just like, go find another channel. Because that's really the rundown. It's like, this channel, you either like it or you don't. You know, it's like I don't know why people come in here. And, you know, it was just a bot. But I don't know why sometimes people do come in here and expect the whole channel to change for them. You know, it's like this channel and me specifically are going to continue being how we are. If you don't like it, you know, why in the world are you going to try and like force me to change for you? I've got a whole audience, you know, like there's 3,276 of y'all that are on here right now. Y'all like this, y'all enjoy it, and I'm me, you know, and of course I'm always going to be me. I like being me. Why in the world do they think I'm going to sit here and go, oh, okay, let me change my whole demeanor and attitude and everything I do to be totally different just for you? It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
Every time I see a bot, I think of the Crimea River.
Oh, that was good. All right, with that, we were on
That was good.
That was good.
Is there such thing as a Crimea River?
No, there's not. But that was pretty good still.
But anyways, on to our next one, which is from Ken Dub X. He puts in a $5 donation and says, SF here. SF. Special Forces?
Special Forces, yeah.
Special Forces here. Missiles aren't on base, but pretty much scattered around. Check out F.E. Warren.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't think he means Special Forces. He may mean Space Force.
Oh, Space Force.
And check around. We will check around. Why don't you check around, pal? Anyway, I was just kidding with you. Let's check around the place. Let's see. Where was it again?
F.E. Warren?
F.U. Warren.
F.E.
F.E. Warren. In Wyoming. Let's see here. All right, so looking for the missile compounds.
Oh, security forces. Dang, we still got it wrong.
Wow, we got it wrong. We went with every abbreviation but the one that worked. I'm sorry. That can't.
Man, I've heard being security forces around missile bases is boring as hell. Let me know if that's the case.
Also, if you don't want it to be boring, let us know. We will make a trip there and film outside so that way y'all can come out there and ask for our IDs and tell us to stop filming and everything. I can't find any. You know, I'm sure they're plain view. Dang. I can't find any of them, man. Good Lord, Magic Sky Olsen and another one. But real quick, I gotta find these freaking missile bases. So I'm sorry, Magic Sky Girl. We're gonna have to give it just a second so I can find these. And also, Matthew, is this cool or what? They literally laid out this railroad track here like a model train layout at home. Like, look, it's an oval and it's got like a little inside oval that does like a weird little curve thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I thought it was a racetrack.
Cool. No, it's a railroad track. That is so neat. I never seen a rail yard like that. But I can't find these freaking missile silos anywhere. Wait a minute, hang on. Maybe. Oh, nope, that's not it. Maybe out here. Nope, those are more wind farms. Golly, man, I can't find these things. We literally drove through Cheyenne at a time. Oh crap, that's what we were looking at, Matthew. Remember when we were driving into the town and we were like, what the hell is this? That was the Fort Warren Air Force Base. We didn't know.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. We drove right past it?
Yeah, we drove right by it.
Oh. What do you know? We missed it.
Man, I can't find the missiles, though. Like, I know they're off the base. We've been looking around outside the base.
Are you supposed to be able to find them?
I feel like you should be able to. I mean, like, you know, it's just going to be like a vault. Also, Don Turner said silos are probably redacted. Probably. Maybe.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think you're supposed to be able to find them.
I don't know, because I feel like it wouldn't really be something censored out because their locations are already public. So, if they were, that would be kind of weird. That's definitely not a missile silo, but with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you for letting us know about that, but sadly, we can't find any of them. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And also, okay, so I was about to say, I was like, does the railroad run through there? It doesn't. Also, Matthew, this is really cool. You know, like the big boy trains, you know, like the ones that still run?
Yeah.
They're serviced in Cheyenne, like this one right here.
That one's got a presidential flag on the side.
No, Matthew, that's the flag of Wyoming.
That's the presidential flag of Wyoming.
Oh, Lord. Also, they still have the control tower that the old yard used to use in Cheyenne, which is really cool, too. Because
Is that for air traffic control?
No, that's actually for the rail yard. They used to control They used to actually control the rail yards like airports for the large part, with like air traffic control towers that would look over the whole rail yard and guide trains where to go and everything. It's really cool. Like,
I'm going to intentionally start saying everything wrong. Only incorrect answers from this point forward.
Oh, man, we better not start doing that because then people may not trust us to give honest answers in the news. So with that, we are on to the next one.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot to say Cambot equals 4. But anyways, moving on to that $50 super chat from Magic Sky Girl, and thank you very much for that. That is very generous of you. Just because you both deserve it, thanks for creating a great stream and a passionate community. Bots be damned.
And thank you so much for the support, Magic Sky Girl, and thank you so much for helping us out a whole load tonight. And it helps us out greatly. That's really all I can say. I mean, like I could go on forever and ever and ever, but that's all that really matters. So I got to thank you so much for once again for the incredible support that you've been given tonight. And I would say that it wasn't me who created this great community. Y'all created the great community. Y'all all together are impressive, incredible people. You always say cool stuff in the live chat, really fun stuff. We always have good laughs. Sometimes y'all come up with jokes that actually make me roll over. It's hilarious. And I think that if anyone deserves credit for the community that we have here, it's really all of y'all, not me. I just happened to be here, and y'all all happened to just show up as well. So it all just kind of came together perfectly. But I got to thank you so much once again for the support. I honestly don't feel like we deserve support. I feel like we are honored a lot by y'all's support because, you know, like I say, y'all got time to spend how y'all want to spend. A lot of y'all who have been on here at this point for almost 3 hours could have spent these 3 hours any way y'all wanted to. Yet y'all are here. And it's unbelievable to think that out of everything y'all could do, y'all spent this time watching this channel. And I'm highly honored by that alone, and I'm highly honored by the support that y'all give, because it allows us to be here, and it allows us to keep on covering this news and talk to y'all in the live chat, and also get to all of our Sunday fundraisers. It helps us to do all of those things, and I got to thank you so much, because I feel more so that I feel more so that we don't deserve it. We're just more so than honored to ever receive any support. And it always blows me away when viewers support our channel, because, you know, and especially with like $50, $100, even $1, $2, and $5, because once again, y'all could spend that money any way y'all want, and yet y'all spend it helping out this channel to keep on running and supporting us and helping us to keep on doing this. And it really just blows me away when anyone ever supports this channel, regardless of the amount. And I got to thank y'all so much once again, and especially you, Magic Sky Girl, tonight for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one. And also, thank you, for the $1 super chat. Thank you so much. Because, like I said, every amount counts, and I got to thank you so much for helping us to keep this thing running. Also, he threw in no message, but somehow he had the message retracted. I just saw that.
How did he do that?
Me away. How did you do that, man? Like I just was sitting there looking at a $1 super chat, and now it says message retracted, but there wasn't one in the first place. But with that, we are on to the next one, and that was some wizardry right there. That was just some black magic straight out.
Yeah, that threw my brain for a loop. I was thinking, I didn't see a message, I don't think. So how did it say that? But anyways, now that we're trying to recover from that, while I choke over here, our next one goes to Thomas. Excuse me. Our next one goes to Thomas O'Hanlon, who says, "Do you think the U.S. would give attack helicopters?"
I think they would, as long as they don't violate national security. I think that they would send attack helicopters. I think that would be something that would definitely be beneficial to the Ukrainians. However, it still begs the question of whether they're usable or not, considering that the Apache, much like the Ka-52, is kind of dated in a way. But with that, I hope that does answer the question fairly well. And I thank you so much once again for the question. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one we have is a $10 super chat from William Allen, who says, F.E. Warren is the oldest continuously active military installation within the Air Force and Space Force, established in 1867 by the United States Army as Fort David Allen Russell.
Wow, that is really cool. Also, that's crazy to think that pretty much the youngest part in American history, which is the Western United States, is actually the oldest continuous part of the Air Force or the Space Force, at least the base that they're on. And that is so cool. That's really neat. Also, really, the whole Midwest is filled with like little smidgelings of cool things. You can't really get a lot of coolness in the Midwest because everything was just so spread out at that time, especially with, I guess you could say, the whole Manifest Destiny, go west, young man kind of deal, that it's really hard to get a lot in a small area, but it's always filled with interesting, cool little tidbits. And I would say that one of the ones that I found most interesting is that when we were in Montana, and let me see if I'm correct here. I think it was around here. Nope. Maybe around here? Nope. Maybe I'm thinking wrong. Maybe it was up this way. There is... I'm trying to see if I can find it free-handed here. And I know that sounds dumb. But trust me, folks. Trust me. If I can find it, y'all probably be pretty impressed. I'm not going to find it. Yep. I'm not going to find it. Anyways, you can actually find Little Bighorn. Let me just type that in. Little Bighorn. Where is this? Dang it, I literally passed over it. I knew where it was, and I passed over it. So this is actually the Little Bighorn battlefield where Custer, not Custard, would make his last stand. You can actually see that they're all still buried here, which is really wild to think. And when you see where it is, it's even crazier because this is literally in the middle of nowhere. If you zoom out, it's just nowhere. And that's where the Battle of Little Bighorn happened. Probably one of the most remembered battles of the Wild West for the most part. And just really crazy and bizarre to think that it happened here out of anywhere. It's not even that like geographically distinct from any of the other areas. You know, it's just another hill. But that's where the battle happened. And you can actually see the little cemetery right there. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. At least a little bit more of Montana's history. But that is still super cool to hear. And I got to thank you so much once again for the support, William Allen. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, did you see those coordinates I sent you on Discord?
No.
They have to be there.
Let me check.
Nukes on display. In Hansen sent those coordinates in.
You said Dispali, Matthew. You said nukes on Dispali.
Oh, whoops.
North Hansen, nukes on Dispali. That sounds like something someone from New Jersey would say. Right there. Look, it's nukes on Dispali. All right. The visitor center?
They have nukes up there at the visitor center, apparently.
Let's take a look.
Can you get Street View on
Oh,
that?
look, yeah, there is
they are.
nukes here. Yeah, he was right.
Oh.
Man, he sounded terrified. Ah.
Oh, look at that old Air Force truck. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's actually a small, like, nuclear missile launcher truck, maybe. I don't know a lot about that one, honestly, so I could be talking out of my rear end, but I think that's what it's supposed to be. And we see a Huey right there, the beautiful Huey. And that's what's got to be. This thing's got to be a Minuteman launcher because it's got a little Minuteman on the side of the truck. If I'm right, let me know. If I'm wrong, also let me know.
Very impressive nukes to Spali.
Yeah, very cool nukes to Spali right here, I'd have to say. Let's see what else. There's this kid. Rocket. Let's see. What else we got? Some snow. And once again, Minuteman thing. And someone said, that's a transporter in Hanson. North Hanson said, that's a transporter. And I was right. Right, it's a Minuteman transporter. Really cool. I think we have these in Huntsville. Like, on a larger scale with some of the actual rocket program rockets there as well.
In Hanson also said, it's not a launcher.
It's not a launcher. It's a transporter. And now we got it correct. It's a transporter. It's not a launcher. But with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much for getting those coordinates into me.
All right. And also, shout out once more from O.O, who puts in another $1 super chat. And thank you very much for that. This time they didn't retract a message that they didn't send. But anyways, thank you. Next up, we have a $10 super chat from Richard Philpott, who says, just cuz.
You know, everyone's getting really basic these days with what they're putting into the super chats. Now, like, it's just coffee fun, just cuz. I gotta thank y'all so much for the support. Does he give me anything to add to? It's just like, thanks. But getting past the joke, I gotta thank you so much for the support, Richard Philpott. You've been around forever. It's been great to have you around. I gotta thank you so much for helping this channel keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like y'all, it literally isn't possible for us to do it. Y'all have made this all possible. And I gotta thank y'all so much once again. And I always wonder how that comes off because I always want it to be a sincere thanks, letting y'all know how important y'all's contribution really is. I'm always like thinking in the back of my head like it's a double-edged sword because I'm trying to convey like how much I value y'all's support, but at the same time I'm like, does that make it sound like I'm trying to pressure y'all? And like, if it does, let me know, because I'm not going to say that anymore if it is, and I've been thinking that for a while, because I'm not trying to pressure y'all. I'm just trying to let y'all know how much I value y'all's support. But with that, thank you so much once again, Richard. I hope that does address the comment fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right. And also we have a question from the live chat from O.O, who says, have you seen that we're looking at selling JDAM kits to Ukraine?
Yeah, I think I've heard about that, like, as like a passing thing. Like I was scrolling through something, and I think I saw it as I was scrolling through, but I don't have a lot of details on it. So honestly, I would have to declare ignorance on it. Now, I don't really know for certain. But I don't know. I would, if you could give me a little bit more info on it, I would love to know about it, but I don't think I know a lot on the onset. And so with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
And the next question we have is from ICAZ, who says, have the Abrams arrived in Poland yet?
I don't think so. I don't think the Leopard 2s have arrived in Poland either. So, unfortunately, the answer to that, according to our current information, would be no. And so with that, I hope that answers that, and we're on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a question from Neil Osborne, who says, Enforcer, have you considered doing these streams earlier? It's after 03:10 a.m. in Europe.
And I have thought about doing them earlier. However, there is a small problem. A lot of our viewers are American, and right now this is like a late night show for them. If we move it further back, well, earlier in the day for us here in America, we're also doing that for a lot of our American viewers, and so then they're having to try and watch it in the middle of their work, in the middle of their jobs. But then at that point, the Europeans would be watching that as a late night show. So unfortunately, unfortunately, we can't really move the stream around a lot. And also, our stream has become so cemented at this time, and we found that if we ever move it, people don't really watch it. Like, it's this time or nothing. And so I hate to say that. We wouldn't move it if it wasn't for that. And we have debated about doing 2 streams a day, but 2 streams a day would literally kill me. Like, I think I would actually just get so exhausted, I would just break and stop doing these altogether. So it's honestly really these are nothing. I hate to say it like that. But I hope you still enjoy watching them nonetheless. And if you want and you can't really watch them right now live, you can always watch the replay. I know that isn't exactly the same as the live stream, but I think that's about the best we could do. I'm sorry, though. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And next up, we have a very generous $50 super chat from Enforcer for President, who is back once again and throws in a picture of the YouTube critter riding a firework, going very fast and swerving off to the right.
And I gotta thank you so much, Enforcer for President, for that support. If it wasn't for your support, along with everyone else's, this channel wouldn't be able to keep running. And I gotta thank y'all so much, because it means a lot. It helps us to keep this channel running a whole load. And if it wasn't for y'all, it wouldn't be possible, especially these days, because it's Christmas. And so, we're like trying to eke by over here, and we're like, oh god. But thank you so much once again, because it really does help out a massive deal. And we're very appreciative to every single one of y'all. And also thank you for having like one of the coolest names in our live chat. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support.
All right, and it's now time to get back to the live chat questions, and we have one from David Simonetti, who says, Enforcer, have you heard that the UK is considering sending Storm Shadow cruise missiles to Ukraine? They have a range of 350 miles.
I have heard about it, but I don't think that's going to happen, because Storm Shadow missiles, from what I know, are fairly new. Storm Shadow, let me make sure. Holy moly! We'll get to that in a second.
Look at that one, that YouTube critter.
I know, I've never seen that one. We'll get to that. We'll get that in a second, though. I'm sorry, but let's make sure to answer this one real quick. This thing is fairly new. It's been in service since 2002. Not that new, actually. Actually, you know what? Take that back. I think we could send those without a problem. And so with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well. Based off of what we know, I mean, since it was introduced in 2002, it's got to be fairly old enough that it could be sent over. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and let's address that second $50 super chat from Enforcer for President once again, who throws in the super sticker that says super effective. It's a game controller, and it gives the peace sign, and it's orange. Uh-oh, it's orange. It's orange, man.
Oh, no!
It's super effective. It's the most effective we've ever seen. It's the best of the best. I only pick out the best. That's why you should buy my NFTs for only $99.99.
And it's a controller, too, because, control freak.
And also, super effective. Thank you so much once again for the support. I got to thank you so much, Enforcer President. It helps us out massively, especially right now, and I got to thank you so much once again for the support. And I'm really at a loss for words right now. I didn't expect a second one. And now, right now, Matthew, I sound like, Mr. President, they've hit the second tower. But I didn't expect a second one from you, Enforcer for President, in such a short amount of time. But I got to thank you so much once again, because without you, this channel wouldn't be possible. Also, if I'm right, Matty, has DM just had like a mental breakdown or something? Because I remember them being in this live chat for a while.
I don't think so. I think that's a bot.
Anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a question from Eric Fontaine, who says, will you guys be doing a Christmas special to honor all the troops serving on Christmas?
I think we will. Honestly, we'll probably be taking Christmas off. Because it's Christmas and it's my favorite holiday of the year. I'm sorry, but I hope y'all understand. I like to occasionally have an off day, especially these days, because it's been going on for 300 days. And so I think I'll probably be taking Christmas off. We probably won't be doing the day after Christmas or anything like that, like we did with Thanksgiving. I'll probably just take Christmas off and come right back. I might try and make a Christmas special to air on Christmas Day, but we won't be doing anything live on the channel then, because, I want to enjoy Christmas with my family. And I don't get to enjoy a lot with my family, because I do this until, like 12:30 at night. I stay up till like 2 or 3. I wake up at some point like 10 or 12 in the midday, depending on how long I stayed up. Sometimes I stay up till 4 because I can't sleep because of the coffee. And then I wake up at 12. And then at that point, most everyone's day is already halfway over. So I get up, maybe eat like lunch and then supper, and then I get to work just a few hours later, and I start working on this for the rest of the night, and that's how my schedule is. And so I'd actually like to have a little bit of time to actually be with my family on a holiday as important as Christmas. And so I think we won't be doing anything on Christmas except for maybe a pre-made video. And so with that, I hope that does address the question fairly well, and we're on to the next one.
Oh, and lovely. Social Blade just had a data breach. That's lovely. They probably leaked all of the information that we've got.
Social Blade?
Yes. That platform that does YouTube analytics that tells you about like your channel stats and everything.
Ah, hell, that's public information already.
Yeah, I had an account over there with them, so hopefully they didn't give out my info.
Oh, I never.
But
made
anyways,
an account with them. I've never made an account with them. I just pull it up.
We got lucky then.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, you can actually go over there and find out all kinds of information about some YouTubers who maybe a little bit more surprising than you'd think. But with that, we're on to the next one.
And up next, we have a question from Dead Crow, who says, "Did you notice the strange aircraft just to the left of the 8 helicopters at Ulan-Ude?"
Ulan-Ude. Here we are in the Soviet town of Ulan-Ude, and I'm gonna shill my ass off for no good reason.
Let's find the aircraft. Honestly, wait a minute, yeah, this thing. What in the world is this?
Yeah, really, what is that?
That is bizarre. I don't even know what it would be.
It's like a private jet hovercraft?
I think it's some kind of a failed Soviet project. And honestly, I used to have a lot of respect for Bald and Bankrupt. This is one guy I will have a beef with. And then he went to Vietnam. You know, like he shilled himself out to get out of Russia. I was like, okay, that's understandable. Guess he doesn't want to go to prison. That makes sense. And then he goes to Vietnam, and then he starts talking about how the United States wanted to come to Vietnam and conquer it. It's like, what kind of drugs are you on, man? Like, that's not even history. Have you ever opened a history book? You know, like, we weren't conquering it. Did we conquer South Korea? No, it's an independent country. Why would we conquer Vietnam? That makes no sense. And that really didn't really jive with me at all. And also, didn't really jive with me how he tried to make out America to be the bad guys in Afghanistan either. It's like, yeah, you know, it's like, I guess, you know, going into a foreign country like we did, probably not the coolest thing, especially for the people there. But to try and make the Taliban and the Mujahideen out to be the good guys when he like the first thing he shows in the video is him walking up to a pool where he explains that they executed quote unquote infidels in the pool by gunfire. It's like, that doesn't really bode well with me either. You know, just being honest, you know, like the first thing he did with Russia getting out of there, it's like, okay, that's kind of understandable. Everything else, he's kind of just laying out a trend. He's really just like anti-Western in general. He even paints out the British to be bad people. And like, what have they done in the past 70 years? But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And the next one goes to Hurtney, who says, "Do you think the noise around Belarus and Russia trying to take Kyiv again is a bluff to try to reduce the pressure on the southern and eastern fronts, or is it real?"
I think it's a bluff. I don't think they have the ability to supply or man these troops at all into their positions in these units. I don't think it's possible, to be honest with you. And so I would say it's most likely some kind of a ruse or a bluff. And so with that, I hope that does answer the question fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Nate, who says, "Enforcer, what is truly your opinion of what is next for the Ukraine war? The power grid issues are getting super grim, and do you see Russia getting involved in a second war?"
The power situation is getting incredibly grim, and right now they're trying to fix the situation the best they can, but it appears to be a downhill battle, honestly, and it looks like the Ukrainians may lose a lot of their electrical infrastructure for the duration. With that in mind, I don't think it's going to be affecting the military side of things much, but it definitely will be affecting the civil side of things and diverting a lot of time and effort of NATO and their resources into trying to constantly fix that issue, or at least keep it stable. But moving into the offensive side of things, I do see the Ukrainians pulling off a successful counterattack in the future due to the weakened state of the Russian forces down there. And I think if they pull that off in time, we will probably see that the Russians will not launch an offensive near Kyiv, if they will. I don't believe they will. And you'll see those supposed mythical forces in Russia somewhere be diverted into the southeast to try and thwart the counterattack. I think that's most likely the realistic way that this thing will go. And so with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well. And yes, Master Skygirl, I think it will be for duration, because what we're seeing is that the Ukrainians are constantly working non-stop to try and fix the power grid, but at the same time, they're not able to, because the Russian missile attacks, while they're largely ineffective, they're still hitting just enough to screw the whole thing over. And so the Ukrainians are constantly having to try and battle to just repair the damage of the last missile attack, and then a little bit's tacked on, and by the time they fix the new additional damage, now more damage is occurring elsewhere. And so I think we're probably going to see that if the Russian missile supplies last, probably through duration, crazily enough. But I don't think it'll still have that much of an effect on the Ukrainian military and their strategic situation in the war, but it will definitely have an effect on the civilian populace or the citizenry as a whole. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Linda Vickers, who says, if a member of the Wagner mercs die in a battle, do their spouses and family get paid?
If the Wagner dies, their spouses and family get paid?
Yes.
With water park tickets, cake, or a lotta?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah, which one do you think?
Probably water park tickets.
Probably water park tickets, or a cake, or a gift card, one or the other. And so with that, I hope that answers the comment fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and I think we have 2 more to go. And our next one goes to Jonathan Payne, who says they have a video of Ukraine that has a cat in a glove box. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. that kind of sounds like a... Like, if it's Ukrainians, it's probably a funny video. If it's the Russians that filmed it, probably not. But I will try and take a look into it and see if I can find it. And so with that, I hope I answered that question fairly well. And with that, we are on to the final question of the night. And so... who was the lucky last person who had the lucky last question of the night?
All right, and that person is F. Mertz, who says, Enforcer, what do you guys think is going to happen to all the Russian separatists, sympathizers, and collaborators in the Donbass after Ukraine wins the war?
They'll just disappear into the populace. The Ukrainians aren't going to do any reprisals against them. It would take too much time and effort, and it would be very... not so good for them in public image to do that to them, or do anything to them. So they'll probably be like, I guess you could say, Confederate soldiers in Reconstruction and the Reconstruction South. They'll be known to have been Russian sympathizers. They'll have a little bit of a stigma that goes with them, or the local populace will sympathize with them, one or the other. And they will just go about their lives, and that'll be it. I don't really see it much happening to them. I don't think the Ukrainians will be going through and putting all of them in prison or executing them or anything similar. I think they'll just be left alone to their own devices and just reintegrated into Ukraine. And another instance of that historically will kind of be like the Germans, for the most part, like really fanatical Germans from the 40s, that just ended up living in Cold War era Germany, both in the East and the West, because neither side really wanted to do a lot to them, because they were usually integral in keeping a lot of things running. Like, I believe in one city in West Germany, it may have been Dortmund or Dusseldorf, like 3 out of the 6 guys working in the city's waterworks, which, controlled the entire city's water supply, were members of, I believe, like the Nazi, like just straight up the Nazi party, or they were members of the SS during the war, and the Americans really couldn't take them and do anything with them because they got these 3 guys out of the 6 in the waterworks. The waterworks wouldn't be able to supply the city with water, and so they just had to leave the guys be and allow them to do their waterworks business, so that way everyone ended up with some water supply at the end of the day in either Dortmund or Dusseldorf, if I got that story correct. And so with that, I hope that addresses the question fairly well and gives a little bit of historical precedent to back it up. And with that, we have reached the end of tonight's stream. It's, of course, been a great pleasure covering the news with all of y'all tonight, and I thank y'all all so much once again for watching, and of course, helping this channel to keep on running. If you did enjoy this channel, and you like the question segment and the news segment, make sure to subscribe, because these streams run every single day of the week at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, except for Mondays. And so with that, thank you all so much once again for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine. Take care, good night, good luck, and Slava Ukraini.
Yes. The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Ще не вмерла України ні слава, ні воля. Ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці. Запануємо ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу.